Our story starts inside the building of Chaoyang Group, where a salesperson named Lin Yi makes a scene as he resigns. Yu Lily, his self-righteous manager, packs his stuff up and throws him out with no contest. Lin Yi has always been a phenomenal worker, but that hag made his life hell just because he didn't play up to her with gifts. On the way out of the building, his girlfriend, Liu Cece, called out of the blue. Just a few minutes ago, he was fired from work, and now his girl is breaking up with him over the phone. She doesn't want to see his sorry ass anymore. When asked if she had someone else already, she did not even bother denying her two-timing, asserting that she won't waste her youth on a loser anymore. With no girl and no job, what could possibly stop this guy from committing sewer slide? Well, how about a fine woman welcoming him as the new owner of the all-career experience system, even getting the lady herself, Ling Wei, as his servant. This system would randomly give him a new job every week where he can get rewards for completing tasks. After a historic streak of massive L's, he's finally getting a lucky break. His first assignment is to work as a Baba driver. He'll get a gift of $1.5 million, a 100% stake in Peninsula Grand Hotel, and a Pagani Zonda worth $4.5 million. Even if he has to work as a driver for a lifetime to get these gifts, he would gladly do so. But every system assignment would only last a week. More jobs just mean more bonuses. First, he'll have to swing by the Peninsula Grand Hotel to properly take over the place. The key to his new Pagani is also good to go. As for the cash, it's already in his bank account, all $1.5 million. He reckons he's either dreaming or he really stumbled upon a broken system. His new car is parked in the zone where bosses park their vehicles, and he just happened to see Ji Qingyan, president of Chaoyang Group, having trouble with her ride. Lin Yi came over to ask if anything was wrong, and the president actually recognized him from the sales department. When asked if she wanted a ride instead of stressing over her broken car, she immediately took the offer up. That's when a blonde bastard butted in to insist upon taking the president to her destination with his comfortable sports car instead. She wasn't charmed by the perv though, she was appalled instead. Still, he kept on insisting on giving her a ride in his $300,000 car. Lin Yi proudly walked up and stared the blonde bastard down with confidence. The president snubbed Blondie and tagged along with Lin Yi. The bastard kept following them until everybody stopped in their tracks upon seeing one car that stood out among the lot. A Pagani worth $4.5 million is not something you see every day. When Lin Yi admitted that the ride was his, Blondie refused to believe. A single click of his key fob that unlocked the door was enough proof that he was not boasting emptily. Seeing as Lin Yi might actually be unbelievably rich, Blondie immediately tried cozying up to him. He responded by speeding out of that parking structure. Inside the car, the president can't believe that one of her supposed employees drives such a luxurious vehicle. Lin Yi claimed that he was from a wealthy family all along and just having fun with different jobs as his cover story. This week, he'll try being a Baba driver, and the president will be his first passenger. Miss President gladly took him up on his offer and ordered a ride request in the Baba app. Once they arrived at the Housing and Urban Rural Development Bureau, she paid the bill and happily exited his car. Ling Wei, the system servant, appeared to award him with $7.5 million and 50,000 proficiency points, pushing his career completion degree to 5%. His first Baba order just gave him a huge chunk of cash. Lin Yi's face might have ripped from how big he was smiling. The Peninsula Grand Hotel is a 5-star hotel and one of the top hotels in Zhonghai. That's what Liu Cece, Lin Yi's ex-girlfriend, said to convince his new boy toy named Yunjie to cough up 20 grand for a room. She's actually regretting not meeting the rich schmuck sooner. But her night was spoiled as soon as her ex-boyfriend entered the lobby. When he insulted the quality of the hotel to humble Liu Cece, Yunji was offended. The witch screamed for the guards to pick the loser out, and the whole hotel security team desperately scrambled into the room. Instead of apprehending Lin Yi, they paid their deepest respects to him. Lin Yi was supposed to be a penniless loser, right? Liu Cis was supremely confused. The head of security politely invited the new boss for a briefing regarding hotel operations. Cece was starting to realize that she might have missed out on the most enormous whale. In the meeting room, Lin Yi was presented with the hotel's financial statements. Overwhelmed by the stacks of paper, he just insisted that they continue operating like before he took over. While in the meeting, another employee was hurriedly interrupted by an emergency. A guest is threatening to complain about not getting the Mercedes-Benz she wanted to rent. Hearing this, Lin Yi decided to take a look at this problematic customer. He knocked at Unit 1704, and a beautiful girl with green hair opened the door. Lin Yi introduced himself as the manager and promised to solve her problems. Miss Gu Jingshu was instantly enamored by his handsome face. Since the Benz is out of the options, he offered a ride with his Pagani instead. As much as she would like that, those types of sports cars are out of her league. That won't be a problem though. Lin Yi could just drive her wherever. She took a minute to dress up, and it resulted in some severe nosebleeds upon the sight of her figure through the shadows. Once Miss Gu Jingshu was done and dolled up, she looked irresistible in every angle. Back in the lobby, Cece has completely given up on his new boy toy in hopes of seducing Lin Yi one more time. Yunjie, the boy toy, just gnashed his teeth and advised that she should stop daydreaming. Even Cece's friend doubts that she can get Lin Yi back after tossing years of relationship out the window so suddenly. She swore that when she gets Lin Yi back, her friend can ride on the Pagani too. Then she saw that former loser walking down the lobby with the prettiest socialite rocking a killer figure. Cece tried to be cute and called Miss Jingshu a personal secretary while trying to worm herself back into Yi's good graces. That awful act just pissed him off. She tried to use her tears as a weapon to guilt him back in her arms, and that's when Miss Jingshu interrupted to help. She lied, implying that she had been far better in bed than Lin Yi's lousy ex. He quickly played the part of a passionate lover, and held Miss Jingshu closer to praise her flexibility. After that, the fake lovers walked out of the lobby, leaving Cece speechless and shamed. Yi can finally roast her for being a narcissistic cheater undeserving of love. The verbal assault left her kneeling in the lobby, thoroughly depressed. Inside the Pagani, Miss Jingshu asked to be taken to Jingxiu Grand Hotel for her classmate's wedding. Outside the Grand Hotel, some catty witches were watching the driveway to talk trash about Jingshu for being a broke liar. Well, when she came out of the multi-million-dollar sports car looking expensive as hell, those catty witches stopped running their mouths. Jingshu pretended to be Lin Yi's girlfriend and helped him out in the lobby. Now's the time to return the favor. All he had to do was show his face and be sweet in front of the catty witches. Back in the humble residential area where Lin Yi rented, the landlady started to boil in anger as Yi was 10 days late with his rent. Her daughter, Zhang Jingjing, was the only one holding her back from going sicko mode. Wu Jinlan, the landlady, asserted that her little girl had better not have any ideas about that salesman loser, as Jingjing was supposed to be a successful civil servant in the future. When Lin Yi swung by the landlady's place, he politely informed her that he would be moving out. Her response was a harsh reminder of his outstanding bill. He assured her that it would be handled immediately. His tab was only about $300, but he sent double that. Lin Yi insisted that the extra is an expression of his apologies for all the times that he was late in his payments. When asked about his new plans, he honestly replied that he would be working as a baba driver. Mrs. Landlady did not like that. She escorted him out of the premises with the eyes of a hawk. Once they arrived outside, the shiny Pagani in the driveway stood out. He opened the vehicle and kindly asked Jingjing to help put his stuff in the car. The landlady asked him where the money to buy this beast came from, and Yi told her his made-up rich family story. Jingjing noticed her mom's change of tone upon seeing how rich Yi was. Mrs. Landlady pinched her daughter in return while asserting that a man like Yi is way out of the league of ordinary people like them. Back in the Peninsula Grand Hotel, his staff kindly prepared the presidential suite for the new owner. After dining on the 5-star hotel food cooked by the best chefs, Yi felt satisfactorily full. A few minutes later, he received a ride request from the president of Chaoyang Group again. He picked him up, and the first thing he did was ask her to send the ride request from the app. Yi is currently on duty after all. Miss President liked that he's a grinder at heart. Yi was the company's sales champion, and after being fired, he's still taking his new career seriously. So, she planned to have the cause of his termination investigated. Lingwei suddenly popped out inside the car and immediately assured Yi that he was the only one who could see her. She just wanted to chime in and inform Yi that the system rated Miss President with a beauty score of 85 or more. This triggered a system mission to pick up 2 beauties with an 85 or more beauty score for 10,000 points of proficiency. But it's going to be a little difficult to find beauties on par or greater than President Ji Qingyan. For some reason, she found it comfortable to speak about her problems with Yi. Her company's about to hold a press conference, but all 5-star hotels in the city are fully booked. Smelling a business opportunity, he offered the idea of hosting the conference in his Peninsula Grand Hotel. Well, she doesn't mind spending more money, but a top hotel like that is undoubtedly booked too. He tried to be all cryptic and stuff, urging her to give it a try, and maybe they'll be surprised by the results. So, instead of home, they changed their destination to the Grand Hotel. She joked that if they can't make it, she won't pay the fine for that reckless illegal U-turn. But if they do make it, Miss President is open to the idea of providing a reward. When asked what he wanted for his reward, he proudly asked for her to do 10 deep squats. He also told her to start searching for the proper form for deep squats on her phone. Her people were turned down by the Peninsula when they contacted their offices, so it's not like he has anything to lose here. She might as well agree. With that, the president and the Baba driver entered a deal. Ji Qingyan introduced himself to the receptionist and asked to talk to manager Wang Tianlong. The receptionist played it cool, thinking that his boss must be pretending to be a broke boy in front of a beautiful girl again. Manager Wang politely welcomed Miss President, and she immediately got down to the business, asking if the hotel's auditorium was available. She thinks the answer would probably be no, but the big boss was literally orchestrating everything from behind. The conference will be in 10 days, and manager Wang could definitely make that work. Coming from the high of unexpectedly locking up such a great deal, Yi brought up the fulfillment of the deal they made earlier. Doing deep squats in front of him might be a little embarrassing, but as a businesswoman, she can't go back on her words now. He moved a little closer and started undoing Qingyan's seatbelt. Yi wanted to see the squats right away, but she firmly insisted that they do it in her house. Well, that shouldn't take long if he stepped on the gas to the max. He was just too eager to watch some squats. It did not take long for the two to reach the Yunshui villa, President Qingyan's home. Inside, she shyly asked him if he would like to see it now. Since he's in a hurry to deal with other things after this, Yi would prefer to see the squats quickly. She hasn't done anything like this before, and she's worried that she'll do it wrong. Still, she steeled her resolve and took a stance. President Ji Qingyan made one very impressive deep squat in her short dress and damn near showed Yi the forbidden clam. She squatted there on the floor while panting suspiciously. Suddenly, a middle-aged man entered the room with a grim and confused expression. What can Yi and the president even say to explain this situation? It turns out that the man was Qingyan's father. Her dad just saw her doing a deep squat in front of a young man. Dad was furious, to say the least. She tried to give an excuse that Lin Yi was just her new yoga instructor. But the man was no fool. He knew that instructors were supposed to teach, not watch. Qingyan stumbled and added that Yi was an advanced yoga instructor specializing in oral instruction. The dad sat down next to Yi, emanating a fearsome aura. He asked what the young man does, and Yi answered truthfully that he was a baba driver. Qingyan's dad was horrified. This shouldn't be the type of guy that his daughter should hang out with. But when Yi admitted that he drives the Pagani at the lot outside, he lightened up. Fortunately, Qingyan cleared up that they're not in a relationship or anything. But it was too late. The middle-aged man had already invited Yi to her grandpa's 80th birthday party. He even gave the two some space to continue what they were doing. Well, Qingyan is not in the mood to finish the rest of the deep squats now. There's been a misunderstanding, but that didn't bother Yi as he pounced on top of the lady. He wanted to continue where they left off. She was embarrassed by the misunderstanding, but her cheeks were flushed with excitement. Yi praised her form and taut figure. That was too much for the lady, and she pushed him off. He just continued praising her for utilizing her lower muscle group. He wasn't being pervy for once. Suddenly, he received an invitation text from his former co-workers wanting to throw him a farewell dinner. With that, he bid Miss President goodbye. At the restaurant, everybody was already sitting, just waiting for him. Wang Ying expressed her disappointment as Yi was up for promotion before he left the sales team. Some random curly-haired brat chimed in, boasting that his performance wasn't bad compared to Yi's. Wang Ying stood up for Yi, though. Curly Brat then tried to curry favor with a recently promoted senior. Lin Yi was starting to sense that he was invited not for a farewell, but so his former co-workers could show off. The senior stood up and asked if he was planning to go back home away from the big city, now that he was out of a job. To add another insult, the senior offered him a job as his personal security guard if he was strapped for cash. Yi was unfazed. These bastards are not even worth wasting time on. Suddenly, a restaurant staff member came in and ran to the private booth to ask who owned the Pagani downstairs. His former co-workers immediately went to the windows to thirst on the luxury car out front. Curly Bastard tried to get another insult in. All Yi had to do was bust his keys out. The senior was the quickest to react and change his tone around Yi after finding out that he drives a multi-million-dollar car. He's been known as an orphan, and he's finally seeing how shallow the people around him are. Yi was pretty much done with this lame party, so he turned to Wang Ying and offered to drive her home. The senior was persistent and kept on trying to cozy up to Yi by holding his hand. He pulled back, anger starting to build up. Then, he got out of there with the beautiful host, riding onto the road in a luxury vehicle. Wang Ying was wowed by the experience, to say the least. The two of them worked together for so long, and she didn't clock him as a millionaire. He stuck with his inheritance story. While they were on the road, he also asked Wang Ying to book the ride request on the Baba app. She happily obliged and was pleased to support Yi's business. The system scanned Wang Ying and assigned her a beauty score of 84, one more point, and he would have gotten a bonus reward. Wang Ying's already a drop-dead gorgeous woman, but the system seems picky. So, Yi asked Wang Ying what a woman can do to increase her charm. She answered by taking something out of her purse, a black fishnet stocking. She slowly slid it from her legs up to her thighs. Wang Ying posed on the passenger's seat, and she looked irresistible. When she started emphasizing her heavy globes, Yi hurriedly scanned her beauty score again. The system finally gave her that one more point, pushing Yi's completion degree to 15%. He also got a few houses on Juzhou Homes as a reward. He hurriedly drove Wang Ying back to her home. After pulling up to the parking lot, she started hinting that her husband had been out on a business trip so they could come up to her house for a while. It's a shame that Yi's too busy managing his rewards. They can still do what they want to do when the husband is not home again. So, the former co-workers bade each other goodbye. Yai had a nice rest and headed over to the sales department of Juzhou Homes first thing in the morning. He strolled into the building looking like $1,000,000. The first person he saw was Zhang Mengyu, another ex-coworker. He told her that he just dropped in to get the certificate of ownership from the manager. Mengyu reacted horribly, chasing him out for being a delusional broke boy. The houses that this business sells cost at least 130 million. Thankfully, manager Wang Hui arrived in time, shoving Mengyu away. Wang Hui was sly. She immediately pulled Yi's arms close to her ample chest. She lovingly laid down the choices for Yi's properties, but his ex-coworker kept on ragging him for being a broke orphan. The manager put her down and fired Mengyu on the spot for badgering a valued customer. Mengyu tried to double down, but the manager declared that Mr. Lin Yi here had bought 9 of their prime houses. While Mengyu flops on the floor, shocked by the revelation, Yi is just pleased that the system is not sparing any expense when it comes to rewards. Wang Hui immediately snapped back to being a sultry manager as she apologized for the intrusion of a crazy employee. As for the paperwork, everything's already prepared neatly. Yi retrieved them and tossed the envelopes in the car. Wang Ying texted him with the news that the bastards from the farewell dinner party were terminated, so he immediately asked the company's president about it. Jin Qingyan admitted that she fired the bastards as revenge on his behalf. She also wanted him to take over as the new head of sales, but he declined and referred Wang Ying instead. Also, the president's car is still in the shop, so she'll need a ride again. After the ride to Chaoyang Group, his completion degree jumped to 25%. Before Qingyan exited, Yi reminded her to give him a good review. Ever the shrewd businesswoman, she tried getting out of the 9 remaining squats for a single good review on the app. Yai quickly leaned over and told her to forget about the excellent review. Those 9 squats are more important for him than 5 stars on the app. He gladly unbuckled the seatbelt for her. On the way to the entrance, Wang Ying came across the flustered president. Yi cleared up the situation, saying that he just happened to get Ji Qingyan's ride order. Wang Ying was finally starting to see that there must be something between these two. Miss President urged Wang Ying to hurry up and enter the building. Once they got inside, Yi also received his positive review. The next ride order on the app is a pickup at Tianyi Homes. It shouldn't take long. As soon as he accepted the request, the client called him up. It was a lively lady asking him how old he was. When he said he was 24, she floated an odd favor, asking him to pretend to be her boyfriend in exchange for a positive review. That was an easy yes for Yi. He knocked at one of the Tianyi Homes units, and a pretty woman opened the door. Xia Xinyu, a popular live streamer, was smitten by Lin Yi's sleek appearance. An older lady came into view, and Xinyu dragged him inside the house. It turns out that both of her parents are around. They are pleased with Yi's handsome looks and are curious as to what his job is. Ya answered truthfully. He's currently a Baba driver. Xinyu tried to salvage the situation, telling her parents that Yi was making a lot of money driving while saving up to open a business. The parents immediately made a complete turn in demeanor, insulting Yi for being a loser. Sensing that things are going horribly, Xinyu finally invited her parents out. She insisted on having this new boyfriend of hers drive her mom and dad. Yi apologized as his car could only fit 2 people. Hearing that made the whole family think that he must be talking about a motorcycle. Still, it was time to go, and they all headed for the parking lot, which was far from the building. The parents' disapproval of their daughter's dating taste was palpable. When Yi finally pressed the fob, the Pagani opened its fancy doors, shocking the entire family. Xinyu's eyes shone bright at the sight of luxury. Yai just coolly told her to come on in while settling in the driver's seat. Her parents were practically pushing Xinyu into Yi's lap by this point. Their destination is the Time Plaza Mall. On the way, Xinyu wanted to ask one more little favor. Since she's a streamer, she wants to go live in the car for a while. Ye was good with that as long as she does write him a positive review on the app. When Xinyu busted out her phone attached to a handle, her lively and loud streamer persona came out. The live chat immediately erupted with shock as she was inside a Pagani driven by a handsome dude. Some accused her of using her body to be in this situation. Xinyu remained professional and playful with the chat. But inside, she wouldn't mind doing a little extra service on the man next to her. After arriving at the Time Plaza, she fulfilled the end of her deal and gave Yi a perfect review. Ling Wei, the servant, spawned out of nowhere, giving him 200,000 points of proficiency. With 35% in career completion, he will be rewarded with a Zhonghai International Circuit and some top-class driving skills. Even he knew what Zhonghai was. It's the second best circuit in the world. But before that, he turned to Xinyu to get some help buying a new phone. Inside, the streamer led Yi to the Pear Store. It's basically Apple, but that's copyrighted. Lin Yi just strolled in and pointed at the latest model, requesting max specs. Xinyu tried to stop him from doing so, as ordering online would be much cheaper. Yai casually caressed her hair and told her not to mind. The staff quickly wrapped his order up and suggested that he should get a phone case to protect his $1,500 phone. He refused to buy a case as he didn't like how it felt in his hands. So instead of buying a case, he would do the richest flex instead. Lin Yi will buy multiple phones, so if one gets busted, he can easily swap it for another. He'd like to take 5 of each color. When asked if he was sure, he added another laptop on top of that. Xinyu in her stream just watched Yi spend a fortune on a ton of gadgets. The buzz of it all drove up viewership to 5 million, 5 times more than her regular size. Sensing the opportunity to make some killer content, she asked if he wanted to buy anything else. Well, Yi is itching to spend his astronomical wealth on some watch. His first stop was Constantin. The shop was oozing with class and luxury, but the managing staff was anything but classy. She saw Xinyu live streaming on her phone and deemed them as pests, pretending that they were rich. There are successful streamers, but they are extremely rare. Besides, this is Constantin Watches, a brand for millionaires. An ordinary streamer can't possibly afford their pricing. Unaware of the prejudice they were being subjected to, the duo continued browsing the catalog. Xinyu herself admits that each one of these watches costs as much as a down payment on a car or a house. Yi saw something he liked and requested a closer look at the product. The manager walked up with a smile and insisted that the watches could not be taken out unless bought. But that's a ridiculous rule. A sane customer wouldn't buy something so expensive without a closer look. Then, a bloated old man with an eye candy partner entered the store. He was sporting a gold chain and a pervy smile. Mr. Ling and Mrs. Ling seemed to be regulars at Constantin, and the manager hurriedly attended to them. Mrs. Lin was smitten by the gold watch on the stands. She fervently requested that piece for her birthday gift. This time the manager gladly took the watch out of the stall and the box to give the clients a closer look. Xinyu was confused, and Yi was stunned by the blatant display of disrespect. The live chat is starting to fall off. He couldn't bear it. Yi walked up and asked the manager why they were being treated unfairly. She just half-heartedly explained that customers are separated and treated on different levels here. To put it bluntly, this store is run by a bunch of snobs. Xinyu tried to defuse the situation by accepting this unfair treatment. That they should be thankful to see the gallery of luxury. Lin Yi backed down and exited the store while Xinyu was still trying to calm him down. Little did they know, our boy has what's called "fuck you" money. He's bringing that to Patek Philippe. This time, they were politely welcomed by the attendant. Both he and Xinyu weren't too familiar with the brand, so they decided to ask for help from the live chat. People in chat kept on suggesting the 175th anniversary limited edition. The chat was actively goading Lin Yi to buy the damn thing. He was just amused and told Xinyu to let the trolls keep watching. He came up to the attendant and formally put in an order for the 175th anniversary limited edition Patek Philippe. Every staff member was both surprised and horrified. Yi pulled out his premium card with virtually unlimited funds and asked if there would be a problem. Every member of staff immediately put on their best smile and explained that the watch still needed to be shipped from abroad. Xinyu wasn't too enthused by this, but it couldn't be helped as there are only 6 pieces for sale in the world. News of a guy spending 1.5 million for a single watch quickly spread like wildfire. Even the horrible manager of the previous store ran into Patek Philippe to see what the fuss was all about. As soon as she saw Lin Yi, she knew how big of a fumble she just did. The manager had the nerve to come up to Yi to offer him their new arrivals after what she did and said earlier. Yi stared into her soul and refused on account of him being too poor to be served by her. Miss Manager might never recover from the error of her ways. She slapped herself repeatedly for passing up on the opportunity to make a fortune on commissions. Outside Time Plaza, Yi slid one of his 20 new phones to Xinyu. It's his way of thanking her for hanging out with him for so long. She gladly accepted and also thanked him for such a fun day. As he drives off with his Pagani, Xinyu can't believe that good men still exist. Gentle, rich, and handsome. That's a package right there. Yi's next stop is his reward, the Zhonghai International Circuit. In the reception hall, he was declined entry as the circuit is closed for visitors today. He asserted that he was no visitor, just a guy with some business with the manager. The receptionist was obliged to call the manager right away. At the same time, the door was pushed open. Some rich boy named Chin Han and his cronies angrily entered upon seeing what looked like a visitor in the lobby. Another attendant apologized to Mr. Chin, assuring him that the gentleman would be escorted out promptly. I got curious as to who that arrogant brat was. The attendant explained that Chin Han is a figure not to be messed with in Zhonghai. In the manager's office, Zhou Haitao was giddy with joy. He would have picked up Lin Yi with a motorcade if he had the chance. That's because from now on, Lin Yi will be their boss after he bought the circuit. When faced with the paperwork, he just asked the manager to adhere to the same way the place has always been run. For now, it's time to see the circuit itself. He wants to run some laps on the track using his Pagani. But there were already some cars in the middle of running the circuit. After the lap, Chin Han angrily stormed to Fatty Joe, the manager, for bringing a random guy in when the whole circuit was booked. The manager explained that Lin Yi, the new CEO of Zhonghai International Circuit, was just here to inspect his property. Yi wants to run some laps, so he orders everyone to clear out, dismissing Qin Han with a refund. Han must have respected Yi's bluntness. No one dares to do this type of thing to him in this city. So, he offered Yi a cigarette and a proposal for a race. Since Han has been dubbed as the god of race cars, he would gladly give Yi a 10-second head start. Han wanted to see just what kind of car this CEO drives, offering one of his in case they have a mismatch. Lin Yi had his Pagani brought around, and Han was stunned to silence. Still, Han was confident with his $3 million modified car. This should be an evenly matched duel. The field was set and the racers were in place. As soon as the gorgeous racing flag girl gave the signal, tires screeched on the asphalt. Both racers took off unbelievably fast, but Lin Yi took the forefront right away. While Han slows down to enter the bend, the new CEO pushes forward without hesitation. Even a professional racing driver wouldn't dare to do that at a crazy speed. A slight mistake could lead to death. Thanks to the system's driving skill reward, maneuvering in tough spots has become a breeze for Yi. Han's racing friends could not believe their eyes. Lin Yi just smoked their best racer by a decent margin. The racing flag girl enthusiastically congratulated her new boss. Fortunately, Qin Han was not a sore loser. He knew when to admit that he was beaten fair and square. He embarrassingly asked if Yi had modified his Pagani, making it roar with speed for a split second. Yi just explained that Han started the race in the wrong way, going into excruciating analysis. Han took the criticism openly and asked for his contact details in case Yi needed anything at Zhonghai. Checking his phone, Yi just received a new ride request nearby. Now that his main job is calling, Yi leaves everything to manager Zhou and even lets Han and his friends continue playing the track for free. When asked what was so urgent to make him leave so soon, Yi honestly answered that he had just got a Baba order that needed attending. At Yunshui Villa, Yi pulled up to the massive house and promptly entered. President Ji Qingyan wasn't ready yet, and he was already inside. He stopped her from saying another word and let the Riz work its magic. She invited him to her home to play games or watch movies while she finished her preparation. He sat down in front of her laptop and saw an email notification. Curiosity got the best of him, and he took a peek at the email. It was an order update regarding one size 36E black lace underwear. After seeing that, he got even more curious. Afraid of letting him see what she had cooked up, Ji Qingyan ran out of the bathroom while still wet from head to toe. She blocked him away from her laptop, face flushed with embarrassment. Since her feet were still wet, she staggered and slipped. Thankfully, Lin Yi was there to catch her before falling, but he might have been a second too late. All he did was rip the towel out of her body as Miss President regained her balance. She might have prevented him from seeing her online underwear orders, but accidentally showed him the forbidden treasures instead. Lin Yi almost passed out from blood loss with his spurting nosebleed. Miss President was mortally embarrassed as she draped the towel over her naked body. He teased her, saying that she just saw a bunch of spam before she came running in like she's got something to hide. After shaking off the embarrassment, Ji Qingyan used a beautiful hair clip as the centerpiece of her outfit. She looked like a delectable pirate queen for a reunion she was going to tonight. Lin Yi's mind swiftly drifted to the possibility of seeing her perform deep squats in her dress. She caressed his chest and assured him that she would deliver. All he has to do is draw the curtains so they can have a little privacy. As soon as he did what she asked, Yi positioned himself on the luxurious couch. Ji Qingyan shot him a flirtatious glance and started on the exercise. She made sure not to have another wardrobe malfunction. She gave him the full view of the most perfect deep squat in the world. After fulfilling the promise, she was whimpering in fatigue. They should head to Zhonghai Club now, but Lin Yi has more pressing matters to fix in the bathroom first. Half an hour later, he got out of the bathroom energized and refreshed for some unknown reason. As they were exiting the house, the duo just happened to come across Qingyan's parents. They exchanged empty glances for a moment. Then, the dad smiled and asked if they were done with their activity. It turns out that they've been hanging out in the house for a while now, but they saw the curtains closed and didn't want to interrupt. Even Mom was fine with it. Grown-up people do grown-up things. She tried to clear up the misunderstanding, but her parents didn't believe a word she said. Now, even Qingyan's mom is giving Yi the invitation to Grandpa's birthday. He just politely accepted, feeling awkward as hell. Qingyan turned to him, her face red with shame as she requested to be driven away from the house as fast as possible. Upon arriving at the Zhonghai Club, Yi reminded Miss President to give him an excellent review. She's starting to get peeved that this guy seemingly only wants her for her excellent reviews. Well, Yi is just very serious about his career. Once she entered the club, Ling Wei appeared once again sporting a cheerleader costume, delivering 200,000 proficiency points for driving a total of 100 kilometers. Career completion was pushed to 55%, and he was rewarded with 21% of Baba's equity. He just completed a few orders, and now he owns the majority of the shares in Baba Company. Since Baba Ride-Hailing Company has a market value of over $50 billion, selling his stake would easily net him over $10 billion. But he knew that he didn't need to rock the boat. He could just get a few $100 million in dividends every year as the app takes off. Now that he's nearing career completion, he will be able to activate a new career at 90% and get more generous rewards at 100%. Hearing those words certainly lit an excited fire on his butt. The next pickup is at the Star Coffee in the Bund going to Juzhou Homes. Since it's on the way home, he can call it a day after finishing the order. The customer was a glimmering redhead named Xu Yang. Lin Yi skillfully pulled up to the curb to take his passenger. Xu Yang was really impressed. She's starting to think that she looks so good that rich boys are gravitating toward her. She excitedly got in the passenger seat and put on the seatbelt. She asked where he was taking her and warned him that she was not the type of girl who had casual affairs. Yai cleared up that he was just the Baba driver, and Xu Yang's real attitude surfaced. She felt deceived, thinking that she was being picked up by a rich guy only to meet a delusional Baba driver. On the road, she kept on telling him to slow down as she couldn't take good pictures, warning Yi not to scrape the high-end car. Lai kept on asserting that he owned the damn thing, but Xu Yang believed that he was just bluffing. She then told him to stop being delusional and just be a miserable driver. Yi has pride in what he does. He likes driving for billions of dollars. As for Xu Yang, she claimed that she has a decent career and that she's out of his league. Feeling disrespected, Yi slammed on the brakes and made the tires screech. The whiplash of the sudden stop tightened the seatbelt around Xu Yang's airbags. Yi has had enough. If she's really a big shot, then she could just get out and buy her own car and drive. For the first time since starting the gig, Lin Yi has demanded for the customer to get the hell out. Xu Yang was left on the curb, threatening to send a complaint to Baba's headquarters. First, she insults his profession, and now she wants to ruin his gig. The car records conversations, so false complaints won't work. Yi took off and left the witch. Once he arrived back home in Juzhou, he finally got pinged with his first bad review. Seeing his rating fall definitely bothered him. Then, the Baba regional agent started calling his phone. A furious agent started scolding him for maligning a customer. The offices are considering deducting his security deposit. When he stood his ground and refused to be treated with disrespect, the agent threatened to suspend his operating status. When he asked for a formal investigation, the agent finally terminated Yi's account and hung up. He was pissed, to say the least. Entering his new business, Lin Yi was welcomed by Mr. Zhou, the property manager. He was given a complete tour of the place, which featured all the expensive furniture. All the soft furnishings are designed by top international designers too. Yai tried sitting on one of the couches and confirmed that Mr. Zhou knows his way around pieces of furniture. There's also the matter of preliminary housekeepers waiting for an interview in the office. Upon arriving at the housekeeper meeting, a familiar face appeared. Xu Yang, the witch, was among the housekeeper candidates, and she still has that nasty attitude. Mr. Zhou yelled at the lady for being disrespectful to the boss. Judging by her attire, it seems like she's one of the interviewees. Xu Yang started deflecting and calling Yi a poor pleb lost in this exorbitant house. That's when Mr. Zhou finally had enough and slapped her across the face for being disrespectful to the owner of Juzhou Homes. But the stupid witch can't comprehend how a Baba driver could own such a prestigious business. When Yi asked if a driver couldn't buy villas, Mr. Zhou hurriedly cleared it up. Zhou strongly urged Xu Yang to apologize, and her head was finally starting to work. She dragged her collar down to her chest and gave her sincerest apology to the boss. Yai just doesn't like her atrocious breath and orders Xu Yang to be escorted out. The security team lifted her off the premises, and the housekeeper selection process continued, with just 4 candidates leaving. Yai assessed that none of these girls was good enough. They won't be selected, but will get $5,000 as reimbursement. Suddenly, Ji Qingyan shot him another pickup text. Since he has to run now, he left the housekeeping business to Mr. Zhou. At Zhonghai Club, it seems like Miss President was the belle of the ball. While she was having a conversation with an old friend, some dude named Ding Yi popped out of nowhere. Xingyan wasn't interested in staying any longer, as she had already called Lin Yi. Speaking of Lin Yi, the handsome devil casually strolled on the club's lobby looking for Qingyan. Her face lit up as soon as she spotted him. The opposite goes for that dude named Ding Yi. Her friend reckons that Lin Yi could probably debut on TV with a central role just on the merit of his good looks. Ding Yi felt salty, scoffing that there was no point in being handsome if he was just a Baba driver. When Yi tried to confront the dude, the bastard backed off. Ding Yi then turned to Miss President and whispered more insults directed at our boy. That's when she finally had enough and defended her man. But it's widely known that Ding Yi bought the top-of-the-line Mercedes-Benz G, a car that a Baba driver wouldn't be able to afford. Qingyi just wanted to get out of there, so she apologized to Yi on behalf of her drunk friends. Infuriated, the drunks continued following the president and the driver on the parking structure. Ding Yi showed his Benz up close and personal, bragging that it cost him $300,000 for one of these bad boys. Xingyi brought up that Ding Yi can't stop talking about Pagani cars in college. Now, those cars are the real deal. Well, it just so happens that one is parked beside his Benz. Ding Yi was the first one to run up to the luxury vehicle. Lin Yi came up beside him and instructed the fool to get out of the way. To make Ding Yi move, he had to open the doors and call Miss President in. The two-party drunks were slack-jawed and shocked. Before taking off, Yi told them a valuable lesson: not to let poverty limit one's imagination. After an average day of slapping bad people with his wealth, Yi drove away with Miss President. She kept on apologizing for subjecting Yi to those snobs, but he didn't really care. Since she's had some drinks, she wanted to sober up on a beach. Yi also thinks that the beach in the middle of the night is a good call. The system then set another goal of 10 good reviews to get 100,000 proficiency points. After tonight's last ride, he would have 7. But for now, it's time to unwind on the white sand beach. While still in the car, Qingyi requested that he turn around as she wanted to take her stockings off and walk on the sand. He kept on teasing her about her panties, and it earned him a very severe pinch to the side. Now that he has been pinched to behave, Miss President can finally remove her stockings in peace. The two got out and immediately felt the cool breeze soothing their pains. Since her parents have been hounding Yi to come to her grandpa's birthday, she wanted to formally invite him as a pretend boyfriend. He's been getting a lot of these requests lately. Yi happily agreed to help for the sake of that deep squatting performance a while ago. Then, she noticed that the beachfront properties of Juzhou Homes had their lights on. Thanks to its exorbitant price, those properties have not been sold. So this is the first time that the lights are left on for the night. Hearing that, Yi had an idea. They can drive to those overpriced homes and stay the night. Qingyan just laughed at his idea, thinking he was just being funny. But the man was dead serious with his proposal. He's eager to take her there. At the front gate, she admitted to taking part in the bid for the land. But she didn't have enough cash and was eliminated from the first round of bids. He could see a hint of envious expression when she looked at the gates. One of the prized features of this land is the mineral water swimming pool. Since she was a little curious about the pool, Yi took her by the hand and offered to take her around the premises to see. She's content with just watching from the outside. She thinks getting kicked out would be too embarrassing. Yi asked what she would do if he just happened to be able to take her inside. Well, she promised to swim around in a bikini so he could feast his eyes. He would take that challenge any day of the week. He hurriedly got her back in the car, and they entered through the main gate where the compound staff had lined up. As soon as the Pagani entered, the staff bowed in respect. Qingyan wasn't expecting anything like this to happen. Meanwhile, Yi was just too amused by her shocked reactions. He pulled up to the side where tons of fruit-bearing trees could be seen. He wanted to get her some fresh fruits, but she felt too embarrassed to ask for one. She was doing a good job acting reserved up until she saw the ornate swimming pool from a distance. Now that she has seen the mineral water pool, isn't it time for her to fulfill her promise to Yi? The problem is that she can't fulfill her end of the bargain without a bikini. But she's not closing the door for something like that happening. She assured Yi that she was a woman of her word. Since it's too windy outside, she just wanted to go back now. But it would be easier to just enter one of the houses and take a look. Xingyan feels uncomfortable entering some grand home without permission from the owner, though. Yi assured her that there was no one inside, so there was nothing to be afraid of. He touched the biometric panel on the door, and it recognized his prints. Ji Qingyan finally realized that Lin Yi owned everything. So, he gave her full access to look around the place. Once again, Ji Qingyan has been tricked into a very sexy dare, but she was way too enamored by the home's interior design to stay angry for long. It's a billion-dollar property after all. Thinking that she was being punked again, she asked if Yi had enough cash to buy the entirety of Juzhou Homes. He sat down and nonchalantly confirmed that he did just that. When asked where he got the astronomical wealth from, Lin Yi could not really get into the specifics. Now she understands why this guy just goes around driving clients with a luxury car. Since it was late, he wanted her to spend the night in one of the endless rooms he had, and she accepted. When asked if there were any women's pajamas on the premises, Yi teased her to just sleep naked, promising that he wouldn't peek. When she got flustered, he finally let up and instructed her to get some new pajamas in any of the rooms. The first thing Miss President did after picking a room was shower. Meanwhile, Yi was busy reading and waiting right outside. He heard a slamming noise and Qingyan's voice asking for him to come in. He was alarmed. A guest had just fallen inside his shower. As soon as he entered the bathroom, he saw the beautiful maiden sitting on the floor, wearing only a towel. She might have broken her foot and is in need of assistance. Yi gulped while thinking that this was the moment. He gently held her upright. Now, both of them are blushing under the hot shower. When they looked one another in the eyes, they both knew what was about to happen. They exchanged a passionate kiss under the gushing droplets from the shower head. He asked if the temperature was fine, and she responded by taking off her towel. Yi was given the invitation to finally explore Miss President's body with full access. After a few minutes, the shower wasn't the only thing gushing on the floor anymore. Let's just say that it was a long night for the two. The following day, they woke up to the tone of the chirping of the birds outside. Qingyan drew the curtains open to let some sunlight in. She seems livelier than usual, but she's nearly late for work right now. She wakes up the naked Lin Yi as he complains about serving her all night, only to serve her again right after waking up. Qingyan was pumped to go to work with renewed spirit. She even promised to give Yi a perfect review. The ride to the Peninsula Grand Hotel was fast and easy. He got her in just on time, and now he can finally get some breakfast before another day full of driving. He entered the Peninsula's highly rated restaurant. The waiter even offered to have the cooks whip up something special for him. But he didn't want to stand out, and the waiter obliged. Yi sat at one of the tables and called a waitress over. Much to his surprise, it was Yu Lily, his self-entitled former boss, that got him fired. Instead of feeling bad and apologizing, she had the guts to harbor ill will to Yi for getting her fired by snitching. Yi slammed the menu on the table and demanded to be treated with respect like a guest. Yu Lily refused to do so, only seeing him as a rich woman's boy toy. Another waitress warned Yu Lily not to argue with big shots, but she still sees him as her employee who has nothing going on aside from his good looks. Hearing all those insults and feeling the curious stares of the other guests, Yi just sighed. He smiled and asked another waitress to bring Wang Tianlong over. Yu Lily thinks that this loser must have heard the general manager's name on TV or something. This girl still hasn't learned her lesson, so Yi would gladly give her the crash course. Wang Tianlong hurried to the dining area, and Lily started talking trash about Yi, calling him a poor pleb causing trouble. But the general manager started fuming at the waitress, who couldn't even recognize the big boss. Even after hearing it from the manager's mouth, he just can't make sense of her employee owning the whole Peninsula Hotel. Wang Tianlong swore to blacklist Lily for causing trouble, so she won't be able to get another job. As she was being dragged away by the security team, she started begging for Lin Yi's forgiveness. The manager apologized to the big dog for disturbing his breakfast. Yi just reminded his manager to do a thorough background check for employees in the future. As he continued with his disrupted breakfast, an unknown number shot him a call. He picked up, and the voice on the other line introduced herself as the vice president of Baba Company. She would like to meet with the new major shareholder on behalf of the company whenever. Since he still has some work to do, he'll just call the VP back in the afternoon. She did not fight back and just politely agreed to work around Yi's schedule. Tian Yan, the VP, is a drop-dead gorgeous executive aided by her assistant, Yan. She also has a full schedule today, so Yan immediately called for a car using their product, the Baba app. With a belly full of good food, it's time for Lin Yi to get back to work. Coincidentally, the nearest client is also in the Peninsula Grand Hotel, so pickup should be easy. He waited out at the front gate and greeted Miss Tian with a big and charming smile. Even a vice president of a multi-billion-dollar company wasn't immune to his appeal. When he pointed to his car, his already good looks were amplified multiple times. The VP couldn't help but ask if he was really a Baba driver using a Pagani as a daily driver. He nonchalantly confirmed and invited Miss Tian to get in. Amused and a little excited, she got in and fastened her seatbelt. Miss Tian looked around the car's interior like a kid looking around a museum. She was impressed and intrigued by Yi's methods. Well, there are no rules when it comes to driving a sports car as a Baba driver, but Miss Tian gravely reminded him to act according to the rules unless he wanted to be suspended. She also admitted that she's the VP of the Baba company. Thinking that she was bluffing, Yi also admitted that he's a shareholder of Baba. Eager to prove that she wasn't lying, VP Tian even showed him her work ID. Now the freaky coincidence is dawning on Yi as he seriously admits that he bought 21% of Baba's shares yesterday, and the two of them just spoke on the phone earlier. VP immediately started flailing and apologizing if she ever offended the new boss. She still wants to have a proper meeting, but Yi is working on a strict schedule. He must complete a few more orders first. After pulling up to Miss Tian's destination, she flashed a smile and urged him to give her a call when convenient. Just as she was about to settle payment on the app, it gave her an error. It turns out that the regional Baba office has finalized his suspension after violating the platform's rules. The whole process was handled by Jallis Corporation Limited, and he just so happened to be parked in the corporation's lot. Miss Tian explained that Gialis is Baba's operator in the coastal areas. She was pissed to see that Gialis is offending the majority shareholder of the company they work under. The VP assured him that she would deal with this matter accordingly. She would even go as far as suspending their agency rights. But that would just be boring. So Yi wanted to tag along inside. Entering the conference room with a bang, everyone's attention turned to Lin Yi and VP Tian. He introduced himself to the executives and brought up the case of his suspended certificate. Lu Wenda, CEO of Gialis, angrily called Luo Yuanfa, manager of operations, to deal with this nuisance. Luo Yuanfa furiously turned to Lin Yi and started berating him for being an arrogant prick, threatening to call security on him. But Yi remained unfazed and just took a seat at the head of the table. He then tasked Miss Tian to handle these bastards in his conference room. She immediately demonstrated why she became a vice president for a massive corporation as she cooks the entire Gialis crew. On behalf of Baba, she formally pulled their agency rights with no room for discussion. The dumbass, shiny forehead CEO of the subsidiary company failed to recognize the VP of his parent company. She slammed her work ID on the conference table for everyone to see, and all colors drained from the men's faces. Forehead CEO turned to his manager of operations for an explanation. Luo Yunfa asserted that Lin Yi was suspended for insulting a customer and sullying the brand's name. That doesn't matter when Yi owns 21% of Baba's shares, being the second largest shareholder of the company. Miss Tian doesn't care if he insulted a customer or anything like that. Gialis was already in the hole, and they just continued digging themselves deeper. VP Tian explained that Mr. Lin was just learning about the business but got his certificate suspended instead. Now that Gialis has lost their agency rights, the CEO turned to his manager of operations to make things right with Mr. Lin or face the consequences. The guy who was screaming to his face just a moment ago is now kneeling and pleading for forgiveness. Lin Yi kicked the man down mercilessly. Based on the man's demeanor and how he handled Yi's case, he must have bullied many people over the years. As a major shareholder of Baba, he proudly backed Miss Tian's decision. Ji Xingyan called his phone just in time to make an exit, delegating the rest of the dirty work to VP Tian. It turns out that Grandpa Ji's birthday is tomorrow, and Miss President wants to buy some clothes for both of them. Yi would gladly pick her up for some shopping action tonight. Also, he can't go to a birthday party empty-handed. Maybe the old man likes antiques, paintings, or calligraphy works. VP Tian was fast and ruthless in settling the Jolly's bunch. She even reinstated Yi's driver status and bumped him up to have the highest privileges. From now on, his Baba app will have more functions, giving him free rein when it comes to customers. That feature would be a massive help to accelerate his experience. While the sophisticated VP is still here, he also asks her for a place to buy some good old people. She floated the idea of Zhangdaqian paintings, and Yi almost staggered to the floor. It turns out that she has access to some high-end art. Lin Yi would gladly pay for one, but she refused to accept cash from her big boss. The painting will be delivered to the Peninsula Grand Hotel, but Yi does not like being in debt to anyone for anything. He would gladly pay 1% of his Baba shares in exchange for the painting. That should be about $80 million in cash. That's more than generous. But now he has to go. Before leaving, he instructed Miss Tian to just run the company the same as before. She almost forgot to send him an invitation to meet the president of the company in Yang City. He agreed to the invitation, but he'll set the date. Going back to Yang City is a little complicated for him. He grew up in an orphanage in that place. On the way to Ji Qingyan's building, he got another positive review, but only one more, and it will be mission complete. Looking at the app, he managed to pick up a ride order to his destination. He's about to pick up Yang Tianxin from Wanda Plaza. She's on her phone with a guy, bragging about all the underwear she bought. Yai pulled up, and as usual, the customer was shocked to see a luxury car picking her up. He just smiled and informed her that he'd be her Baba driver for the day. Yang Tianxin praised the Baba company for doing such a unique marketing strategy. When Yi insisted that he owned the car, another lady started talking trash and calling him delusional again. He has no time to argue with arrogant customers anymore. The mission is more important than fighting. On the road, Yang Tianxin started freaking out as she looked at the unfamiliar route he was taking. That's when she erupted in anger when Yi just wanted to take a shortcut to get to the hotel that he owned. The moment this lady stepped into his car, the first thing he noticed was the bag of lingerie sets she was carrying. He's starting to think that he got a pro in his passenger seat. Just like Lin Yi claimed, they arrived at the side entrance of the hotel quicker than what's indicated on the map. This also made Yang Tianxin's entry a lot more discreet. This just confirmed that there is something shady going on with this lady inside his hotel. To make matters worse, he received another bad review. That Yang Tianxin is just a mean person to the bone. It looks like his good review luck is starting to run out. At least the workday is over, and he can pick up Qingyan now. They arrived at Time Plaza. He carried her bags going into the building proper, while pestering Miss President for another one of her excellent reviews. She insisted that her review for tonight would depend upon his performance. But he knew that she was just saying that to make him work harder. Inside Time Plaza, Qingyan's eyes shimmered at the sight of her favorite swimsuit shops. Yai whispered that she must be shopping for a swimsuit to fulfill her promise to him. She still feels tricked by how that dare turned out, but it's part of the allure. He insisted that he never forced her to do anything. She's the one who always agrees to bet and dare. The attendant welcomed them into the store, offering to help. After going around the shop a few times, Qingyan still hadn't chosen anything to purchase. She was feeling bad as she couldn't seem to pick anything among the shop's selections. When asked why she's acting oddly, Miss President insisted that she doesn't want a swimsuit anymore and Yi should just buy one for himself. Yi panicked and offered to help her select from all kinds of styles. She then whispered the real reason why she was embarrassed. It's not because of the styles, it's because the shop doesn't have her size. The attendant listed that they have sizes A, B, C, and D in stock. However, when it comes to Ji Qingyan's ample figure, they would need at least an E-sized swimsuit to cover what needs to be covered appropriately. Yi doesn't think it's a big deal. They can just check the brand store next door. Entering this hall full of high-class swimsuits, Lin Yi must feel like he just discovered heaven. He was smitten by the green-haired lingerie model poster in the middle of the store. Qingyan had a hard time dragging him away from the display. When they finally got the chance to check the wares in the store, the attendant gladly showed them their latest bikinis. Her gaze floated on the daring black bikini, but she opted to pick a cutesy one instead. Lin Yi was brutally honest in saying that she should get something that shows off her irresistible shape. What she needs is the one that attracts her gaze right from the get-go. The black bikini that can hug her curves. Ji Qingyan blushed and felt embarrassed by such a daring suggestion. At the end of the day, she caved and bought the black bikini in an E-cup size. Much to her surprise, Lin Yi also had the cutesy, wholesome swimsuit wrapped up. Qingyan was confused. Yi disapproved of that one just earlier. Well, he just wanted Qingyan to be comfortable so she could wear the wholesome one when she goes out and wear the black one when it's only the two of them. After swimsuit shopping, Miss President wanted to go up to the 4th floor to check out some custom dresses. She found a blue and purple one that she wanted to try on. While doing so, Lin Yi just sat and chilled outside the fitting room. Then, she peeked out and softly called him inside. He slyly asked if it would be appropriate for him to do so, and Qingyan's blush got even redder. She just needed some help zipping her dress up. She presented her silky smooth skin to him, waiting for the zipper to come up. Lai was smitten by her figure. There was supposed to be a shawl covering her back, but he could see her in just the provocative dress. Seeing her airbags in the dress, Lin Yi estimated that they should have bought F-cup swimsuits instead. Once she was zipped up, Ji Qingyan glowed with confidence. She liked how Yi reacted to seeing her in it, so she would gladly take the dress. The attendant agreed that the fit was immaculate. But another pair of customers just arrived, and the girl started bugging an old man named Zhang for the gorgeous dress that Qingyan was wearing. When Mr. Zhang asked for a dress of the same style, the attendant apologized as they only made one of every custom-made style. Pissed off, Zhang demanded the dress, even if they had to take it off from the customers that arrived first. He reckons that those two youngsters couldn't even afford it. Hearing that grating sound calling her poor pissed Miss President off. The gold digger slithering on the arms of the old man scoffed that the $13,000 price tag is a steep sum for broke people. Qingyan proudly asserted that 13 grand is just a paltry sum for her. She can buy the thing herself, but the gold digger is going to need another man's pocket to do the same. Mr. Zhang proclaimed that he'd add another 3,000 to the price tag to get the dress, but that was against store policy. That's when Lin Yi stepped up and offered an additional 30,000 and insulted the gold digger's flat chest, wasting the appeal of the dress. When the attendant presented the idea of making a custom dress, Mr. Zhang's intensity died down. With those extras taken care of, Qingyan thanked Yi for yet another fun night. She also picked out a few suits for him to wear. The store attendants and Miss President herself were speechless at the sight of Yi trying out perfectly fitted suits. Qingyan hastened their testing as she knew that if Yi tried on more suits, the girls in the store would probably jump his bones on the spot. With their outfits picked out, it's time to pay up and head home. Back in the place where they shared their first night together, Lin Yi relaxed outdoors, only for his heart to start pumping like crazy at the sight of Ji Qingyan in her seductive black swimsuit. While he was checking her out, she was doing the same thing to his body. Standing up and showing off his six-pack, he playfully teased her for looking. Qingyan shyly averted her eyes in turn. She might be wearing a daring swimsuit, but she's still that shy lady inside. Now that she's showing her body off in a bikini, her promise should be considered paid full. At the edge of the pool and started working his magic. He dragged Qingyan to the water to play. She started panicking and clinging onto Yi tightly as she couldn't actually swim. Yi assured her that she would be fine as long as they were together. He could also teach her how to swim breaststroke, backstroke, and everything in between. She turned to him, afraid of drowning. He calmed her down effectively in the middle of the water. Miss President is really afraid of sinking in the pool. She's clamping around his waist so tightly that he can't even move properly. Next came the swimming tutorial as Yi gently eased her into floating on her own. When she finally got the hang of it, one wrong move made her panic and lose balance. The middle of the pool was quite deep, and Yi had to dive down to rescue the drowning lady. He dragged her onto the surface while their lips were locked together. With him by her side, the water doesn't seem so scary anymore. Caught in the moment, Yi made his move, and Qingyan welcomed him with passion, but reminded him to be gentle. That day, the water of the mineral water pool had been exposed to some sticky foreign substances. After the swim session, Yi asked permission to borrow Qingyan's phone, and she readily agreed. She even gave him the password. Who would have thought that Ling Wei would appear once again to reward him with 100,000 proficiency points, reaching a 75% completion degree, and the ownership of Wangjiang Pier? He must have heard wrong, right? Wangjiang is the second biggest pier in the country. Ling Wei joyfully asserted that he really got Wangjiang under his name from now on. According to his career progress, activating the next profession in advance won't be too difficult. Qingyan finally finished her shower and playfully told Yi that he sucks at teaching swimming techniques. Still, the door to his swimming tutorial is always open for Miss President. Today is also special as he had the quilt and pillow he used to sleep on in the orphanage delivered. Qingyan wanted to know more about him and his life as an orphan. As far back as he could remember, Yi never had parents. But at this point in his life, that fact doesn't make him sad anymore. Miss Wang from the orphanage has taken care of him like a son, and he grew up with a lot of orphan friends. Qingyan and Yi definitely grew a little closer tonight, but tomorrow's a long one with her grandpa's birthday. They're going to need some rest. Lin Yi just needs to drive Qingyan to the office a few more times, and his mission will be accomplished soon. Lin Yi and Ji Qingyan slept on the same bed that night. He was woken up by a surprise call from Miss Wang asking if he broke up with Liu Cixi. Realizing what's happening, he assured Miss Wang that he knows what he's doing. But now that he's single, Miss Wang wants to introduce a friend's daughter about his age. He promised to go to the matchmaking meeting at 9 a.m. at Tianyue Tea House and to visit Miss Wang when he becomes free. I can't believe that Liu Cixi, the witch, went as far as contacting Miss Wang. The next day's first stop is the tea house to meet a girl named Sung Wenhui. On the third floor, he met Sung Hui's entire family, her mother, brother, and aunts. Right from the jump, Yi already felt bad vibes. When asked if he works for a real estate company, he casually fessed up that he was fired recently. He was asked if he was unemployed and truthfully answered that he was a baba driver. Wenhui's mother felt infuriated, but the girl wanted to hear Yi out on account of his handsome face. Wenhui works at a bank, so her mother wants her would-be husband to buy a 100-square-meter house in Zhonghai. Wenhui thinks that this is non-negotiable. Yi was amused by the family's delusion and asked for any other requirements. The mother demanded 88,000 for the bride price as it's a lucky number. Yi's gotten ultra-wealthy, but hearing such thick-skinned demands made him spit his tea. She was basically selling her daughter. The brother chimed in and demanded an imported car costing more than 80,000. Yi smacked the table and refused to give in to their expensive demands. The mother believed that their demands were reasonable, as relying on the family would make it worth it. Hearting that, Yi brought up his dead parents and asked them if he should rely on their corpses. The brother found it fitting to add that the orphanage will be demolished soon, and when the land is sold, Yi will get a decent chunk of cash. Lin Yi splashed hot tea all over the Sung family now that their aim to profit from the orphanage is out in the open. With a grave tone, he warned them for deceiving Miss Wang. While the Sung family was in chaos, Yi strolled out of the tea house. The brother felt salty. He took a potted plant and aimed at Lin Yi below. As Yi walks to his car, the dumbass brother tosses the potted plant. It missed Lin Yi by a small margin. He looked up and saw the brother yapping threats of harming him. Yi asked the reckless young man about the consequences of what he did. The flower did not hit Lin Yi, but it left a scratch on his luxury car. Sung family would have to cough up money for repairs. The whole crooked family hurried down to the parking lot. Y estimated that the cost of repainting would be about 300,000 and that he would accept any payment method. Wenhui interjected, changing her tone to a gentler one. Her eyes twinkled with dollar signs as she apologized for her brother's rash actions. She expressed her desire to go through with their relationship no matter what. Yi tossed that thought away and threatened to sue the family if he didn't get his 300,000 soon. Once he made his exit, Mother Sung blamed her daughter for missing the opportunity to win such a rich man's heart. The brother then saddled her with the bill, saying that it was all her fault. In the span of their argument, Lin Yi had already reached his new business, the Wangjiang Pier. He wasn't expecting a massive crowd of people and luxury cars parked around the area. Some dirty old man named Mr. Miao is consoling a young lady who just broke his boat seat. This is Mr. Miao, the manager of the operations department on the pier. He explained that the leather seat is costly, but she would gladly pay for the damage using her body. Lin Yi interrupted their dirty moment, demanding payment for the boat's damage. He owns these things now, after all. Both the young lady and the dirty old man told him to piss off. Yi took note of the old man and determined that Mr. Miao would pay for it in some way. Yi entered the office building and asked to see manager Bi Songjiang. He was escorted to the conference room, and Mr. B welcomed him alongside the pier's executives. The only one missing is the manager of operations, that old man Miao. Yi sat down and declared that the meeting won't start until the old fart shows up. 5 minutes later, Miao came to the room looking like crap while wearing a fake smile. He looked at the head of the table and knew right away that Yi was the new chairman. Mr. Miao got on his knees and begged for one more chance, but Yi just waited for the old fart so he could have him thrown out by the security team. Disrespecting the new chairman on his first day is not a great career move at all. Yi addressed the room full of executives with the idea of upgrading the entire pier. He will be relying on everyone to come up with a plan. They might be the second largest pier in the country, but Yi does not like being second place. He wants to make Wangjiang the biggest and most prominent pier in the world. He would gladly raise the money needed for the upgrades. The floor staff will get a 20% pay bump, and all executives will get 10%. That promise was certainly enough to get these executives foaming at the mouth to perform. After the meeting, he checked his inbox and saw that the painting he got for 80 million just arrived. Then, the watch he ordered 3 days ago is now ready to be received. He'll have to pick up the painting and attend the birthday party, so now's not a good time to get the watch. To make matters worse, the item is so valuable that Yi will have to sign for it himself. So, he just sent the 175th anniversary limited edition timepiece to the party at Donghu Villa. Surely that won't cause trouble, right? Lin arrived at Donghu Villa and met Qing, who was dressed boldly. Then they entered the villa for the celebration, where others commented on Qing's beauty and wondered who accompanied her. Qing apologized to Grandpa Yang for being late, and he replied graciously. He asked to be introduced to her boyfriend. Tian explained that Lin was the driver and falsely claimed he owned a sports car. Qing assured everyone to trust that Lin was experienced. However, Tian's friends still doubted Qing. Tianxin introduced her boyfriend Zheng, who worked for the same company as Lin. Zheng mentioned the company's new luxury car and promised to investigate further. Grandpa became angry and demanded Qing to make Lin leave. Suddenly a car arrived, and 2 people presented Lin with a limited edition rare watch worth $3,000. Others were shocked by its value. Grandpa then asked Tianxin to apologize to Lin. Another girl criticized Lin for not siding with Qing and insisted that he should have given the watch to Grandpa as a gift instead. Tianxin agreed and revealed that Zheng had been courting the girl for a month. Zheng presented the gift, an antique set of bronze coins from the Qing dynasty, valued at around $300,000. Tianxin and the other girl criticized Qing, pointing out that despite her boyfriend's wealth, he hadn't spent any money on the gift. Qing then presented her gift to Grandpa, who complimented its quality. Tianxin remarked that it seemed like a cheap item, but Grandpa replied that the thought behind the gift mattered more than its price. Lin told Qing that she didn't need to lie, as he was the one who had prepared the gift for Grandpa. Qing asked how he could say such a thing. Lin said that he had already prepared a gift for Grandpa, so he handed over the gift scroll to Grandpa, saying that it would be bad if he came without any gift. The gift was a rare piece of art, the Peach Blossom Forest, worth $30,000, which shocked a man there. Tianxin wondered if it was really worth that much. Grandpa explained the history of the painting. Zheng revealed that the owner of the art had refused an offer of $33,000, so the painting Lin gave must be a fake. Tian blamed Lin for the fake painting. Qing trusted that Lin wouldn't do such a thing. Zheng tore the painting, stating he had once seen it at Cheng's house. According to the rules, they had to destroy the fake one. Qing was furious upon hearing this. Lin calmed her down and disqualified Zheng from the Baba company. Zheng asked who Lin was to expel him from the company. Lin revealed that he owned a 20% share of the Baba company. Qing didn't believe this and asked him to stop worrying Zheng. Lin asked Zheng to call Cheng to confirm if it was true. Zheng agreed and put the call on speaker so everyone could hear. As Cheng picked up the call, Zheng asked if he knew Lin. Cheng confirmed, instructing Zheng to show respect to Lin. Otherwise, he would be disqualified from the company, and Lin actually held a 21% share in the company. Zheng told Lin he had met, that Lin had 20% shares. Cheng replied that Lin had made a deal for 1% in exchange for the rare painting. Zheng was shocked to hear this. Again, Lin stated that Zheng was disqualified. Tianxin asked them not to spoil the mood of Grandpa's birthday party. A second girl asked Lin if he couldn't do it for Qing's sake. Lin replied he would do whatever Qing asked, but they weren't allowed to talk to him like that. Grandpa was shocked, holding the torn rare painting. Lin ordered Zheng to pay for it. Zheng apologized, but Lin warned him he would call the police. After that, Zheng asked Tianxin for help. She got angry at him as well and broke up with him, refusing to help. He begged her not to leave him. Lin told Zheng to get up because Tianxin wasn't worth it for him. After that, Lin asked Mr. Ji to talk alone, so he asked Ji to order everyone else to leave. Mr. I. Ji agreed with that. As the family gathered with Lin, he revealed that he wanted to talk about Tianxin. He then asked if she had driven his car to the Peninsula Grand Hotel the previous day. She agreed, and explained her reason, asking if he had any problem with it. He denied having a problem, but revealed that there were some strange toys she brought and that she met 2 foreign men. She was shocked upon hearing that. Lin said he had a few videos that he would transfer to Qing later, and that there wouldn't be any evidence if she had done it in a private area, but it seemed she did it in public. He showed the video to Grandpa. Tianxin begged for forgiveness, but Grandpa ignored her and slapped her. Tianxin's mother asked them to wait, but Mr. G pointed out that if Lin made the video public, their family would be disgraced. Lin said it wouldn't be appropriate for him to stay, so he decided to leave. Lin and Qing left the villa together. She thanked him, mentioning the expensive gift. He replied that it was a shame it got torn and that he wouldn't stand by and watch them bully her. After that, he left. After that, he thought about grabbing something to eat after completing the mission of driving the Baba Company car. He received an order from Yuan. Yuan was standing there when Rui arrived and offered to give her a ride in his BMW. She declined, saying she was waiting for a cab. Then Lin arrived in his supercar, asking if she had booked a cab and mentioning he had come to pick her up. Rui was shocked to see the cab, and Yuan told him not to follow her. They left, and Yuan complimented Lin's car. He finally dropped her off, and she blushed as she asked for his number and whether he believed in love at first sight. He told her not to say that to anyone else. As he was leaving, Wen called him, asking for a ride to the office the next day. He joked, asking if she wanted to give him the money she had received. Wen said he could make such a joke with his family, and since they were testing him, he passed, and they were now in a relationship. He then asked her to give him his 300,000, stating he wouldn't leave a single penny. After that, the scene shifts to Tianyi Homes, where a girl was standing on the footpath and saw Lin with his car. He offered her a lift, asking if she was going to the Zhonghai International Circuit. She agreed, mentioning that there was an event there and she had a chance to participate. She then gave him some fruits she had. As they reached the Zhonghai International Circuit, Lin said he wanted to watch the event with her as well. They found two people looking aggressive towards each other. The girl asked them what had happened. She told Lin that those were Ren and Sui, popular streamers on Douyu, and she inquired about the situation. Sui explained that Ren wanted to drive them away. Ren denied it, saying there was only room for one live streamer. The girl suggested that the area was big enough for all three of them to stream. Sui said that Ren had been influenced by Qin's associates and wanted to leave them. A girl approached and told Ren they had entry cards and that Qin was waiting for them. Teasingly, Ren walked inside while Sui appeared very angry. The girl with Lin asked Sui to calm down because they couldn't do anything as long as Qin was with Ren. Lin intervened and told them to go ahead with the livestream. Ren warned Lin that he would be in trouble if Qin showed up. Lin confidently asked them to bring Qin there. The girl asked Lin to calm down and not to provoke them. Lin assured her that he would make sure they could do the livestream. Sui asked Xin about Lin's background. She replied that she didn't know, but she believed he would handle it. So, Sui decided to follow Lin as well. Ren commented that it would be embarrassing if they got thrown out. They entered and saw many luxury cars preparing to do the livestream. Sui asked if Lin was sure they could proceed. Lin agreed, promising to manage everything. Then Xinyi, Qin, and Ren arrived. Ren told Qin and Xinyi that it was her exclusive livestream, but those two had interfered. She pointed towards Lin, calling him arrogant. Zhou greeted Lin, and Qin asked how Lin was doing. Ren, shocked, asked if they knew that arrogant boy. Qin revealed that Lin was the owner of the Zhonghai International Circuit. Ren was stunned upon hearing that. Lin asked Qin if he knew Ren, who had been rude to him. Qin replied that he had just kicked her out. Ren pleaded not to do that to her, saying her career would end if she didn't do this. Qin acknowledged that Lin hadn't informed him about her until it was too late and asked the guards to remove her. Qin asked if the girl was with Lin and suggested introducing him to foreign girls. Lin denied it and placed his hand on a black car, indicating that Qin was a better match for those girls. Sun wondered who Lin was to dare mock Qin. Qin explained that the car was the newest model and proposed a race with it. Lin agreed, noting that his skills had also improved. They each took a car, and Sun and Jinyu live-streamed the event. Qin had the blue car and suggested making a bet to make it more exciting. He explained the rules of the prize for the winner, which Lin agreed to. The race began, and Lin finished first. Qin admitted that despite training hard for several days, Lin had won. He then gave Lin 330,000 wen as the bet amount. Lin gave the money to Zhou, asking him to fix the scratch on the car. Zhou agreed, and took the money. Lin told Sun and Xinyu that if they needed anything, they could contact Zhou. Qin approached Lin, putting his hand on Lin's shoulder as a friend and asked if Lin had fun being a Baba driver with Xinyu. Lin replied he would be happy if Qin joined them sometime. Qin declined and started to explain why, but Lin interrupted and left. Lin realized he only had to finish 3 more orders before he could go back for dinner. He ran into Miss Liu and commented that she was closing the shop early, and he had been thinking about having fried rice since it had been a while. She replied that Jing would be arriving soon, and Liu would reopen after picking Jing up. Lin then ordered his meal, asking for ham to be added. Miss Liu agreed, and Lin left for the school to pick up Jing. At the school, Lin asked a girl if all the seniors had been dismissed, and she confirmed it. As he looked around, Lin noticed some ladies and recognized one with green hair. The lady insisted that Miss Gu see the scratches on her son's face caused by Jing, threatening legal action if her son's future was affected. Tearful, Jing explained that the boy had bullied her first. Lin arrived and, upon hearing the commotion, asked if they were daydreaming. He comforted Jing and asked her to explain what had happened. Showing Lin the tear in her shirt caused by the boy, Jing recounted the events. Lin intervened, telling the woman not to cause a scene. She became increasingly rude, demanding compensation and threatening to use her husband's influence in Zhonghan capital to file a lawsuit. Miss Gu calmly explained that they were in the wrong, which only angered the woman further. She threatened that the whole school would suffer for it. Miss Gu decided to take Jing home and promised to explain everything to the principal in detail. At that moment, the boy's father arrived, demanding to know what had happened. The boy accused Lin of slapping his mother. The man shouted at Lin, demanding he kneel down and apologize, claiming that Qin was his boss and could have Lin kicked out of the city. Lin scoffed at this and called Qin, explaining the situation. Qin understood and clarified matters. The man mocked Lin, thinking it was a joke, until he received a call from Qin ordering him to leave Zhonghai capital immediately. Shocked and begging for leniency, the man was promptly fired by Qin without hesitation, leaving his family shocked. They asked Lin for another chance, but Lin dismissed him, saying it was fortunate he had come that day to prevent Liu and Jing from being insulted. Lin told him to leave and strive to be a better person. Afterward, Lin and Jing returned to her home. Jing started to tell Liu what had happened, but Lin stopped her, suggesting it remain their secret between the two of them. At night, Lin arrived at the Chaoyang group and thought about the girl who was still working. He silently approached the CEO's office where she was and wondered if she wasn't afraid of anyone. Lin made some noise with a chair, startling her intensely, and he wondered who was there. He stepped outside to check, but found no one, so he returned. Suddenly she called out to Lin, asking him to come and pick her up. He refused, stating he was busy with work. She insisted, pleading for him to stop working and come because there was a bad guy in the company scaring her. Lin asked her to wait a moment. Then, she saw someone knocking at the door. The girl started crying, asking who was there, and mentioned her boyfriend was coming, so the person didn't need to think she was afraid. The boy responded that since her boyfriend was arriving, he would leave now. She recognized the voice and, as she opened the door, it was Lin. She hugged him tightly, explaining that a bad guy had been scaring her and asked how he had arrived so quickly. Lin replied that he was the scary boy. She asked if he had really been doing all that. Lin explained that he wanted her to realize the danger of working alone and insisted she leave earlier from now on. She asked him not to scare her like that again, admitting she was very frightened. Then, she noticed a package he was carrying. Lin explained it was egg-fried rice from a stall he often visited over the past few years, which he brought for her to taste. She opened it, taking in the aroma, and asked if it was made by Liu. She shared that she had also tried Liu's fried rice and found it delicious. She jokingly punished Lin by making him feed her, which he agreed to, saying no one would believe he would do such a thing. He fed her and remarked that it was late, offering to drive her home. She thought highly of him for it. Qin called Lin and mentioned he had a list of internet celebrity girls, asking if Lin wanted to relax. Lin replied that the girl next to him was better than any internet celebrity. Qin asked for a picture of the girl. Lin agreed and asked her for a selfie. She wondered why, all of a sudden. Lin explained he was going to send her photo to someone to show the difference between real and fake. She wondered if she should put on makeup and get ready. Lin complimented her, saying she looked good even without makeup, and then took a selfie. She distanced herself a bit, feeling awkward, but Lin reassured her that she didn't have to feel weird. She explained that she had never taken a selfie with a man before and wondered what pose she should do. Lin suggested she sit on his lap for the photo. After taking the picture, Lin sent it to Qin, who asked where Lin had found her. After leaving the office, Lin told her not to worry about dinner as he would drop her off. She replied that she still wanted to support his unusual way of experiencing life. Lin wondered if he had to do something special. She asked jokingly if he needed to summon his prey. They got into their cars, and Lin asked what steps he needed to take to set up a charity foundation. She explained that even powerful people found running non-profit organizations challenging, so it might be difficult for him to solve the problem. As they talked, Lin dropped her off at home. He mentioned he was going to Yang City the next day and invited her to come along if she was free. She replied that she would see if she had any free time. Then she left, and Lin felt that he had completed his challenge. Just then, a girl appeared, telling Lin it was time to embark on his next career journey. She asked Lin if he wanted to activate the enhancement. Upon accepting, she explained that he would become a university teacher, rewarded with a series of gifts and $750 million. Lin commented that it seemed like an easy task. She elaborated that after taking the potion, even mastering advanced mathematics would be a piece of cake for him due to the effects of the attribute enhancement. Lin noticed changes in his physique, feeling a surge in his strength. He excitedly discovered he now had six-pack abs. After this revelation, he lay down on his bed, reflecting on completing his first professional mission. Soon after, Lin received a call informing him that they had already made contact with Pagani's engineers. Lin agreed and instructed his butler to send the car over. The girl Lin had dropped home explained that she wouldn't be able to join him because of some unexpected work. Undeterred, Lin arrived at the airport the next day and discovered that the girl had gifted him a first-class ticket. He settled into his seat on the plane. Hao Yu, Yuan, and Xin also boarded the plane and noticed Lin. Xin made a comment about him, while Yuan mentioned it was her first time seeing such a young boss in first class. Hao Yu playfully asked them to stop and assured them they would all find someone equally impressive. Lin told Hao Yu to keep his pretense to himself and not involve him. Hao Yu then suggested a competition, asking the stewardess for her contact information to see if she would give it. He called over a stewardess, explained the competition, and asked her to choose whom to give her number to. Initially hesitant, the stewardess relented after seeing the limited edition rare watch Lin had. Hao Yu was shocked by her decision, and Xin teased Hao Yu about it. Hao Yu, frustrated, realized she was new to the game. Xin mentioned that a young lady was approaching. Lin then challenged Hao Yu to compete for her contact information. Hao Yu agreed, and as the girl approached Lin, she mentioned that she had the window seat. Hao Yu promptly asked her for her contact information. Lin, however, jokingly pulled the girl onto his lap, claiming he had the power to make her fall for him in an instant. Hao Yu jokingly warned the girl to call the police, claiming they were witnesses. The girl asked Lin to stop embarrassing her in public. Lin responded that he felt it was too stuffy on the plane and wanted some fresh air. The girl insisted he stop, noting the embarrassment in front of so many people. Lin then turned to Hao Yu, asking if he still wanted to continue their competition. Hao Yu was taken aback by Lin's bold move. Lin asked Ji Qing to sit there, wondering if she wasn't busy with company work. She denied it, and the other big man seemed angry. Xin wanted Lin's contact, but the boy refused because Lin wasn't a good boy, as he had touched Ji Qing inappropriately. Lin replied that they were going to marry soon, as they were lovers. Ji Qing asked him not to take advantage of her and said she needed to go to the bathroom. He replied that he would be gentle next time. After that, they both reached the Blue Sky Welfare Institute. Ji Qing mentioned that the piece of that orphanage would be worth at least a few million. Lin said the owner of that orphanage was a very rich lady, but she chose to take care of those children and didn't even wear rich clothes. They met the kids there and gave them snacks and gifts. Wang asked Lin why he didn't inform her earlier so she could make his favorite food. He replied that he wanted to surprise her. Wang asked if the surprise was Lin's girlfriend, whom he brought to meet her. As Ji Qing introduced herself, Wang asked her not to bring anything the next time. Wang asked a man to take the kids back while she took Lin and Ji Qing inside. As the man left, he saw Ning arrive with her boyfriend. Wang was so happy that Lin and Ning both came with their friends on the same day. Lin told Ji Qing that Ning also grew up in the orphanage, but for college, he went to Shanghai, and she went to Yang City. He then asked Ji Qing to go and take a look. Ning arrived with her boyfriend in a car and told the kids that she had brought lots of goodies for them. Some boys touched the car, and when Ning's boyfriend saw that, he became very angry with them because he thought the car would get dirty and would need to be washed. Ning met Lin and his girlfriend, asking for introductions. Ji Qing introduced herself, mentioning that Lin had already told her about Ning. Ning commented that Lin was charming to have such a good friend. Ning's boyfriend introduced himself as Tao, and as he was about to shake hands with Ji Qing, Lin interrupted by pushing Tao's hand back and asking him to be polite. Tao became angry at this behavior. Tao then said he would donate 100,000 to the orphanage, but Wang declined, saying they had already done enough. Lin asked her to accept it as a token gesture. Tao asked Lin to donate some money as well. Lin agreed to donate 100 million. Upon hearing that, Tao was shocked and accused Lin of lying. Wang told Lin it must be hard for him, and suggested they leave and have lunch. Tao bet that if a taxi driver could donate that much, he would donate 10 times the amount. Lin called someone, provided an account number, and instructed them to transfer 100 million into that account. Just as Wang found that her account was really credited with that much money, Tao took her phone to check and found it was real. Lin asked when Tao would donate, as they had agreed. Tao felt so embarrassed after that and pretended he had some work, rushing away from there. Ning asked him to wait, but Tao didn't stop. Lin told her that Tao wasn't a good person. Miss Wang asked Lin how he got so much money. Lin replied that he started a small business and made a profit, and Ji Qing added that Lin invested in some projects in Zhonghai as well. Wang said it wasn't a small amount of money, and that it takes a long time to earn, so she was going to return his money. He replied that he had enough money to live comfortably and insisted she keep it, then suggested they go and have lunch. During lunch, Ji Qing asked Lin what he would do afterward. She said she would go to check on the Yang City offline branch because she felt there was something wrong with the account and asked him to come with her. He replied that everything was well prepared. Ji Qing assured him that she wouldn't tell anyone she was going there. Lin told Wang that they had work to do and they were leaving. Suddenly, Ji Qing's dress tore, so she went to change. While changing, she asked Lin to help her with the zipper because it got stuck. He asked if she couldn't wear the dress without it. She asked why he was complaining and if he didn't love to do that. He replied teasingly. When the zipper got stuck again, he went to get scissors. She mentioned that she didn't have anything else to wear. Lin explained why the zipper got stuck. So, he got the scissors and fixed it. She felt awkward about it. After that, they both went to the Chaoyang branch of Yang City. When they reached the conference room, the employees were shocked and asked why Ji Qing didn't inform them beforehand that she was coming. She told Wang that there was no need for that, and then asked to send the accounts for the year to the conference room. Once provided, she looked at the accounts and asked where Wang had gone. She found that the branch had a discrepancy of more than $30 million and noticed other problems with the accounts. She warned them that she would call the police. Some people entered and said they came to collect the debt Wang owed them, which was 1 million. Ji Qing was shocked to hear this. One of the men said that if she came with him that night, he wouldn't ask for the money anymore. Lin intervened and said he thought Zheng had ordered them to stop Lin and Ji Qing from calling the police, and that Zheng didn't owe them any money. The man got angry upon hearing that, but then Lin offered them 2 million to help take Zheng to the police station. The 3 men were shocked and agreed to do as Lin said. They rushed outside to capture Zheng and take him to the police station. Lin asked Ji Qing to take the financial statements while he went to the police station. When they reached outside the police station, Lin told her not to let the news out as it would devalue the Chaoyang group. She thanked him, saying that if he hadn't been there, she would have been in trouble. He asked her to go into the police station alone, and he would go after Zheng. She asked him not to put himself in trouble. He handed over the files to her and told her to go to the police. Otherwise, if she was late, the loss might increase. He then left. After 3 hours, he finally returned with Zheng, and when Ji Qing saw him, she was happy and asked if he was hurt. He denied it and said to leave the rest to the police. Zheng was arrested, and he begged Ji Qing to spare him, promising to return everything to her. She was so angry that she didn't spare him. After that, she grabbed Lin's hand and asked him to go back to Zhonghai. He agreed. The scene shifts to Yunshui Villa, where they both arrived by taxi. Ji Qing offered to cook for him. He was surprised to hear that she was a good cook. Finally, she made dinner, and as Lin tasted it, he commented that it was delicious. He then asked if she was dealing with the matter of Zheng earlier on the phone. She agreed, saying that as the CEO, it was her responsibility to oversee everything. After dinner, Lin mentioned that he didn't expect her to be such a good cook and that he wanted to give her a good reward. She declined because he had already helped her so much. He asked her to close her eyes, and then he kissed her. She asked if that was the reward. He replied that it didn't matter, but she was happy. They had fun throughout the night. The next morning, when he woke up, Lin found that Ji Qing had already left for the office. Lin received a call from the HR of Zhonghai Normal University and agreed to start working as a teacher there the next day. He thanked them for the opportunity. The next day at Zhonghai Normal University, Lin arrived well-dressed, reminiscing about his youth. He received a call from Ji Qing asking him to pick her up, but he declined, explaining that he was starting his first day as a teacher. She was shocked and asked how it was possible. Lin revealed that he would be the PE teacher there. Ji Qing insisted he should just go to work. A college girl commented that if such a young man were their teacher, she would pay full attention. Lin went to the office, stating he was there to start. A teacher identified him as Xingbang, and the lady there, Su Gei, the dean of students, told Lin he must work hard. She handed him a task. to help graduates of hotel management find internships with a salary not less than 3,000 yen, along with free room, board, and other basic requirements. Though he thought he was a PE teacher, she insisted he take on this responsibility, and he agreed. Xingbang showed Lin his desk, while others discussed how Suge disliked those who used the back door. Xingbang suggested that Lin approach Tier 3 restaurants. Lin agreed and then contacted someone to come to his location. After half an hour, a man arrived, and Lin explained everything to him. Then he escorted the man to Suje. She became angry that an outsider had come there. Lin explained that he had done it for the students' internships. Shocked, she stood up. The man turned out to be the manager of a grand hotel and agreed to provide internships for the students. Tianlong even offered $500 more than Suge had requested. The woman who had assigned Lin the task said he had earned $200,000 and completed 20% of his experience. Xingbang asked what Lin was thinking and praised him for finishing the task in half a day. Tianlong left, and Lin asked Suge to schedule his classes before leaving. Suge instructed Xingbang to arrange a kinesiology class for Lin, noting that attendance had been less than 30%, meaning Lin would receive only half his salary if it continued. Suju commented that since Lin was the PE teacher, it was the appropriate subject for him to teach. After that, Lin was walking on Wangjiang Pier when a car passed so closely that the lady inside told him not to touch her car. He replied that he was simply crossing the road. Chen emerged with an arrogant attitude, showing off her Audi A8. He asked her not to show off, pointing out that it was just an Audi A8. Later, the lady entered the conference room at the office, where a man commented on her tardiness and Lin's absence. She explained she had been delayed in the parking lot because of a man. Qian noticed Guan and asked if she wasn't ashamed of losing to Qian again. Qian wondered how a foreigner could have better knowledge of the area compared to locals. Finally, Lin entered the room, and Qian realized he was the man she had encountered in the parking lot. Lin asked a man if the lady was an employee of the company. He replied that she was a famous designer there. Lin sat down, stating he didn't want her there. She apologized, asking for another chance, but he refused, stating he didn't want such people around. They both left the room. Lin asked Guan to start explaining. She began detailing everything. Lin asked her what she would do with $30 million if he provided it. She replied that she would make their company a top 5 player worldwide. Lin offered $120 million if she could make his industry a leader for more than 10 years. Others were shocked, but Guan agreed. Lin stated he would provide her with $30 million as an advance, and then left. He received a call from Fuyu, the director of the Longxin Institute, who wanted to meet him. They agreed to meet at 1 p.m. the next day. The following day, Lin arrived at the school office and greeted everyone. Suge asked him to prepare for class. He was already prepared, and Suge explained the class attendance system and how it would affect Lin's salary. Lin agreed, stating he didn't need the salary, so he didn't have to teach. Sugu insisted he must teach, whether he wanted the salary or not. Lin agreed and asked where the classroom was. Xingbang informed him it was on the 3rd floor. Lin headed for the class and met 2 girls who greeted him, asking if he was their new teacher, as he had the textbook. Lin explained what he was going to teach. The girls offered to help him find the classroom, but he assured them he knew the way, and they left. One of them messaged the students' chat about Lin's upcoming class. Lin arrived with Suge and Xingbang to find 30 students already there. They heard commotion outside and saw more students entering the classroom. Xingbang joked that the girls were attracted to Lin because of his looks. Suge acknowledged this but questioned why boys were also present. Xingbang quipped that obviously, they came for the girls. When the bell rang, the class filled up completely. Xingbang noted that since it was full, they didn't need to count. Suge, annoyed, wanted to see how Lin would handle the lesson. Lin asked the students to come forward for attendance. An hour later, students were still lining up to mark their attendance. Suge urged Lin to start the class, but the girls were upset that they hadn't been marked present yet. Seeing their frustration, Sugo asked Lin to proceed as he saw fit. Just as Lin was about to start the class, a girl informed him that the roll call hadn't been completed. As Lin began to do that, the bell rang signaling the end of the class. Lin instructed the students to start from the next day. Xingbang commented that it was the first time he had seen such an amazing class. Lin asked if the attendance met Suge's expectations. After she agreed, he said he was done for the day and prepared to leave. Xingbang joked that Lin was like a playboy, attracting all the girls. Just then, the woman who had assigned Lin the task appeared, congratulating him on his first day. She mentioned his experience had increased to 40%, and he would be rewarded with the master memory. Lin asked about the difference between master and sage memory. She explained and asked him to choose. Lin inquired if she knew who the best in the chip field was. She confirmed it was Jack, the father of the chip. Lin chose Jack. After receiving the master memory, Lin declared his intent to make a breakthrough in the chip field. The scene shifted to the Longshin Institute, in the director's office, where Ying informed Fuyu that a man had visited their institute. Fuyu acknowledged this, and mentioned there was a meeting scheduled for 1 o'clock that day. Wang expressed concern that his arrival could disrupt her critical research. Fuyu reassured her to stay calm, suggesting the man might be trustworthy. Chu questioned how an outsider could guide them. The wealthy man was Lin, and upon meeting him, Fuyu greeted him, saying they had been expecting him. She then showed Lin around the institute. Lin commented on the outdated equipment. Fuyu explained that the equipment was expensive, and they lacked the budget to update it. She sought Lin's advice. Lin stated he had plenty of advice to offer, and suggested they follow his recommendations. Fuyu agreed. Chu then interjected, stating he had something to say to Lin. He bluntly told Lin not to interfere with their research direction, and to let them work as they saw fit. Lin inquired about Chu's qualifications. When Chu responded, Lin remarked that he seemed to have only graduated from kindergarten. Chu acknowledged Lin's wealth and power, but asserted his own respectability, refusing to be insulted. Lin referred to him as mindless, stating that since he had acquired the institute, Chu would have to follow Lin's lead and let him do as he pleased. Fuyu asked Lin to apologize to Chu, but Chu countered by showcasing his project and warning Lin of the consequences if he fired Chu. Lin questioned whether Chu thought the world revolved around him. Fuyu explained the project, and Lin asked if it was challenging. Lin took charge and discussed his qualifications as Fuyu requested. She agreed to let him oversee it. Chu praised Lin for his programming knowledge, which wasn't part of his course. They were shocked when Lin modified the code. Lin assured them that fixing the bugs would prevent further mistakes. Lin finished coding there, and Chu asked if he wanted to review it again. Lin was satisfied, and when Fuyu saw it, he declared it perfect, and they knew what to do next. Lin mentioned that he had resolved all the issues faced by Chu. He asked Fuyu to create a list of the equipment needing replacement. Fuyu was shocked, estimating it would cost around $5 million. Lin agreed to provide the funds later, instructing him to replace everything, and also to give all employees an $80,000 bonus. Fuyu thanked him for everything. Ying apologized to Lin and asked him personal questions, exchanging personal contact information and encouraging her to reach out any time. Lin announced he was leaving and told Fuyu to call if needed. Fuyu accompanied him outside, where they met President Qi and his assistant, Geng. Fuyu explained that he initially thought Qi had come to request use of the laboratory, but since it had been purchased, Fuyu couldn't make decisions. Fuyu then introduced Lin as the new owner and suggested Qi discuss laboratory matters with him. Qi offered money for that, but Lin declined, explaining that the replacements were necessary because the existing equipment wasn't suitable for developing chips, though adequate for academic research. Geng mentioned that he had met Lin previously in the HR department. Qi asked why Lin chose to become a teacher. Lin replied that it was to gain experience. He asked them not to let more people know, and then left. The next day, while sitting in his teacher's room, Jiaj entered angrily, and Xingbang informed him that Suge wasn't present. Jiaj explained that he had come to see Lin and mentioned that Lin had caused issues for Suge the previous day. Xingbang suggested that Jiaj not argue as he was under the vice president. Suge arrived and asked what had happened. Jiaj reassured her not to worry, saying he would handle her problem. She was shocked to hear that Lin was the issue and approached Lin, telling Jiaj not to interfere. Jiaj was taken aback and called Lin a bad guy. Upon leaving in anger, Jiaj departed, and Lin assured Suge that he would assist her with her tasks. Just then, Sugo received a call from the vice president, De Tian, summoning Lin to his office. She agreed and informed Lin, leaving Xingbang surprised and advising Lin to apologize. As Lin arrived, Jiaj informed him that he was fired. Lin asked De Tian why he was being fired. De Tian responded that Lin wasn't suitable for the job. Lin received a message from Qi to pick up his appointment letter, but Lin replied that he had been fired. Qi asked where Lin was and came to Dachen's office, questioning what was happening. Dachen explained that he didn't believe Lin was capable of the job and asked Lin to leave. Qi became furious with Dachen, stating that he had been considering appointing Lin as honorary vice president. He emphasized Lin's role as director of the Longshin Institute and his extensive knowledge. She then declared that both Jiaj and Dachen were unfit for their positions and demanded their resignations. Both were shocked, and Dachen requested another chance, apologizing profusely. Qi asked to assess Jiaj's character, noting he had already been given numerous opportunities. Daetian started arguing with Jiaj. Chi then asked Lin to take Daetian's seat, but Lin declined, stating his desire to remain a teacher. Chi decided to appoint Lin as deputy director with presidential powers. Afterwards, Chi approached Suge, who welcomed him. Sai mentioned he would handle the issue with Daetian and Jiaj. Jiaj asked if they were fired and learned Lin would become deputy director. Another person asked how this happened, and Lin replied, "It was nothing." The girl responsible for assigning tasks arrived and mentioned that Lin had acquired the Twin Towers, explaining the details. Lin received a call confirming his ownership of the Twin Towers and arranged to handle formalities the next morning at 9 a.m. Upon returning to the office, Lin contemplated setting up a company to manage his assets. He unexpectedly encountered Suge wearing a towel. Suge was shocked and asked how he had entered. Lin explained it was also his office. She turned away, telling him not to look. Lin couldn't help but admire her figure, thinking it was impressive. Lin arrived at the Chaoyang Group press conference where he attracted the attention of many women. Spotting Jiqing with some girls, he decided not to disturb her and grabbed something to eat. A lady approached Lin to exchange contacts, but he politely declined, causing her to leave in frustration. Another lady asked Jiqing if she knew that Yaluo Company had secured a $150 million contract. Jiqing confirmed it, and Lin wondered if that was the company he had chosen. Wei approached Jiqing, inquiring if she was interested in a reconstruction project. She expressed interest but mentioned her lack of connections, making it difficult. Wei offered his assistance, explaining that the CEO of Yaluo Company was his cousin. Jiqing asked if he wanted to collaborate and invited him to her company for further discussion. Wei suggested they celebrate with dinner, but as he was about to approach her, Lin intervened, informing Wei that Jiqing wouldn't be dining with him. Wei questioned if Jiqing had time for Lin, and she affirmed she had an appointment with him. Wei argued the dinner was worth hundreds of dollars, but Jiqing chose to prioritize her plans with Lin. Lin informed the Chaoyang Group that they were not in a position to take on that project and asked Wei to call his cousin for confirmation. Wei dialed Guan on speakerphone and inquired if she had a suitable candidate for the Wangjiang Pier project. Guan acknowledged working closely with Wei on her projects, but Lin interrupted, introducing himself as the owner of Wangjiang Pier. Wei was surprised, and Guan recognized Lin, confirming his authority over the project. Lin asked Wei if he now believed Lin had the decision-making power. Wei apologized and left at Lin's request. Lin informed Jiqing that he was waiting for her in the lounge. Others commented on how cool Lin was. When Jiqing arrived at the lounge, she found Lin lying on a couch. Without a word, she sat down nearby. Lin gently took her hand and guided her to sit on his lap. She realized he had been pretending to sleep. Jiqing remarked that Lin had also acquired Wangjiang Pier and was managing ordinary tasks while investing in other industries. Lin questioned how he could accurately gauge the market without revealing his ownership. Jiqing assured him she would complete the Wangjiang Pier project flawlessly, but Lin hesitated to assign it to her. She suggested they enjoy the evening together, prompting Lin to suggest she speak directly with Guan, the project's designer. The scene shifted to the next day, where Lin stood outside his office. Qing approached, recognizing him after a long time and inquiring about his current activities. He mentioned being a physical education teacher, which she playfully teased for not being lucrative. Qing revealed she was a low-ranking employee at Yuandong Group earning $30,000 annually. Lin shared he was there to purchase a house and asked about the commotion at her company. Qing speculated about a mysterious tycoon who had acquired the Twin Towers and was expected to complete formalities that day. Vice President Luo prepared to meet the buyer of the Twin Towers. Ren noticed Qing there and asked what she was doing. She explained she had just bumped into her college classmate. Introducing Ren as her boyfriend, she suggested Lin consider offering Ren a job and invited Lin to join them for lunch. Ren declined, stating he only dined with wealthy individuals and didn't want to waste time with Lin. He mentioned the imminent arrival of the Twin Towers buyer. Qing suggested they discuss matters later at home. As people lined up, Lin revealed himself as the Twin Towers buyer, but preferred not to make a grand entrance. He began walking, leaving Qing and Ren shocked upon hearing the revelation. Jiqing mentioned that So Lin had also acquired Wangjiang Pier and was now involved in ordinary work while investing in other industries. She asked how he would discover the real market if he didn't reveal that. So Lin replied that she would complete the Wangjiang Pier project perfectly. However, Lin had not assigned that project to her. She suggested that he enjoy the night, and in response, Lin said he would also speak to Guan, the project's designer. Vice President Luo arrived, visibly angry, and asked what Qing was doing. She apologized, explaining that Lin was her classmate who had lost his mind. Luo instructed security to remove her from the premises. He then slapped Ren, who asked for the reason. Luo revealed that Lin was the one who had purchased the Twin Towers, questioning how they dared to treat Lin that way. Ren asked if that was even possible. Qing asked Lin if he really bought it. Lin confirmed he had come to buy his own home. Luo apologized to Lin and promised to host a banquet that night to make amends. Lin asked Ren if he still wanted to have dinner together. Luo instructed them to leave Ren alone and focus on signing the contract in the conference room. When Lin arrived, he found numerous documents to sign, which took nearly half an hour to complete. During the contract signing, Luo asked if Lin had anyone to manage the Twin Towers. Lin inquired if Luo could recommend someone. Luo mentioned that his brother owned a property company in the city and offered his brother's services if Lin hadn't found anyone yet. Lin requested Luo to have his brother contact him. On the other hand, Qing and Ren emerged with some files, and Ren said he would find another job to support her. However, she responded that they weren't right for each other and broke up with him. Ren was shocked, reminding her of their promise to marry. She explained that Lin had given her a love letter in college, and she intended to be with him now. Ren criticized her, calling her unfaithful, and then left. Qing stood outside, applying makeup. Lin approached and asked why she hadn't left yet. She replied that she was waiting for him and had also broken up with Ren. Lin nonchalantly said he didn't care. Qing then mentioned the love letter Lin had supposedly written to her in college, now accepting it as true. Lin revealed it had been written by someone else. Others nearby gossiped that girls like Qing only wanted to be with rich men and were not good people. Lin told Qing to return to work and announced he was leaving. As he got into his car, she sat inside without permission, claiming she had been fired, and asked him to drop her home. He demanded to know who allowed her to sit there. Qing pleaded with Lin to drive her home since they were classmates. Irritated, Lin called the police, describing her as a crazy girl who had illegally entered his car. Hearing this, Qing quickly got out, and Lin drove away. The scene shifted to Music Plaza, where a girl on a bike was hit by a car. The man emerged angrily, berating her for damaging his new car and questioning why she had come there if she couldn't handle herself. She retorted, asking why he was shouting, and offered to pay for the damage. The man scoffed, implying she couldn't afford it, and then condescendingly offered her a job as his secretary, suggesting he would deduct the repair costs from her salary. Enraged, she objected, but he abruptly silenced her by covering her face with a cloth, causing her to lose consciousness. Suddenly, Lin arrived in his car, drawing attention and admiration from onlookers. Recognizing Lin, Ying approached him and asked why he was there. He simply replied that he was passing through. Noticing her red hands, he inquired about what happened. Wang explained that the man had been taking liberties with her and recounted the entire incident. Lin asked the man how a motorcycle could be blown over on such a hot and windless day. Spotting a monitor nearby, Lin suggested they review what happened. After viewing the footage, the man proposed they forget the incident, offering to repair his car. Lin questioned his hurry and threatened to call the police. The man pleaded for mercy, explaining he needed to support his family. Lin relented and left him. Ying mentioned feeling dizzy, prompting Lin to offer to drive her home. During the ride, he asked if she still lived in the same apartment. She confirmed, and Lin questioned why she hadn't bought a car, especially now that she was promoted to sales minister. Ying explained it wasn't appropriate given her recent promotion and financial constraints. She apologized for her brother's actions, and Lin mentioned he had already contacted a lawyer. Feeling guilty, Ying offered to compensate Lin. He asked her to stop and assured her they would arrive at her house soon. They arrived at Ying's home to find it in disarray. She cleared a space for Lin to sit, mentioning her own messy house. She invited him to stay and offered to prepare a big dinner after her shower. While Lin played games, Ying interrupted from the bathroom, complaining of feeling hot and dizzy. Concerned, Lin asked if she lived alone. She unexpectedly asked for a kiss. Lin hesitated, not wanting her to regret it, but she insisted, expressing a desire not to overthink and wanting him to feel her. Afterward, Lin inquired about Ying's divorce. She explained her husband had cheated on her, leading to their breakup. Lin criticized the man for betraying such a good wife. Preparing to leave, Lin advised Ying to finalize her divorce quickly. She argued that it was exhausting to drive him home and suggested he stay the night. Lin declined, citing an early commitment at the university the next day. Despite the late hour, he left to go home. Next day at the university, Lin was shocked to find that his desk in the teacher's room was missing. Xingbang informed him that he had been promoted to deputy director, so he and Suge would now share an office. Lin protested, saying he didn't want this and requested his old desk back. Just then, Suge arrived and asked Lin to repeat what he had said. Lin was surprised to see her and quickly dismissed it as nothing important. After that, the phone rang and Suge picked up the call. She was informed that Xiao was threatening to jump from a building due to work-related stress and was asked to come quickly. Shocked, Suge asked where Xiao was. She explained to Lin that Liu had told her Xiao was distressed over work issues and contemplating suicide. Suge urged Lin to accompany her, and they, along with Xingbang, hurried to the scene. On the way, Lin questioned what was happening and who was considering jumping. Suge explained that Xiao was a brilliant student set to graduate that year, who had rented an apartment for her internship. She didn't know the exact details of what had happened. Xingbang asked where Xiao was working, and Suge mentioned it was at Zhonghan Capital, which Lin recognized as Qin's company. Upon arrival, a large crowd had already gathered. Suzhou crossed the police line, identifying herself as Xiao's teacher, and asked to speak with her. The police agreed, but he decided to accompany them. They reached the top floor, where a lady was already present with Xiao, who was seeking help. Suzhou asked Xiao about the problem and commended her bravery, questioning the reasons behind the incident. Xiao tearfully revealed that someone had done something terrible to her, and even her boyfriend didn't believe her. They were shocked to hear this. Lin asked Xiao to disclose the name of the perpetrator. Xiao replied that she never thought the deputy CEO would do such a thing to her. Suge reassured her, urging her to calm down, noting that she was still young with much ahead of her. As Xiao backed away, she warned that she would jump if they approached. Lin urged her to do it quickly, suggesting it would expedite police action. He told her that death would be pointless, and asked what would happen to her case afterward, emphasizing that she needed to live for justice. Suzhou assured her that they would definitely help Xiao. Xiao refused, stating they wouldn't be able to do anything because the man was the deputy CEO of Zhonghai Capital. Lin promised her that he would ensure the deputy CEO went to prison, but he wouldn't force her if she didn't want to proceed. As she glanced away, Lin suddenly moved to grab her and pull her back. The police expressed their gratitude, and Lin stated he did what needed to be done, requesting the police to take her statement. They agreed. The girl expressed her despair, wondering if they could really win. Lin began to leave. Suge asked about it, and Lin explained he was going to Zhonghai Capital to gather evidence for the case. Xingbang wondered if Lin intended to challenge Zhonghai Capital alone. Suge hurried to stop him, asking Xingbang to stay there. She rushed to the car, urging everyone to calm down, expressing her desire to help Xiao, but acknowledging the deputy CEO's power. He asked her to get out of the car, but she fastened her seatbelt and sat firm, determined to go with him. He drove the car to Zhonghai Capital and informed the receptionist that he wanted to meet Kui. The receptionist asked if he had an appointment. When Lin said no, the receptionist informed him that he couldn't see Kui without one. Lin made a call to inquire about Officer Kui's whereabouts. The person on the other end informed him that Kui was in room 1809 and asked why Lin wanted to meet him, urging him to explain his purpose. Lin replied casually, saying it wasn't a big deal and that he just wanted to teach that CEO a lesson. Lin proceeded inside as the receptionist asked him to wait. In Officer Kui's office, he was in a meeting with another man discussing investments that were under Kui's jurisdiction. Kui welcomed Lin, mentioning he was having a rough day and was looking forward to some entertainment. Lin kicked the door open, questioning if Kui hadn't had enough fun already and was still seeking more. Kui demanded to know who Lin was and how he dared to barge in. Lin confronted Kui about his misconduct with Xiao, accusing him of wrongdoing. Kui asked if Lin was Xiao's teacher and had come to confront him. Lin clarified that Xiao had falsely accused him because he had rejected her advances, and he wasn't going to let that go easily. Suzhou moved to confront Kui for his shameless behavior, but Kui grabbed her hand, pushing her back, asserting that she wasn't qualified to speak to him and that he had the legal department behind him. Lin became visibly enraged and kicked over a cup, expressing his anger. Kui ordered Chan to call security. Chan began calling for security, and Kui himself rushed to attack Lin. Lin retaliated by kicking him down once again. Suga thought Lin seemed incredibly strong. Security arrived with Jin, the head of Zhonghai Capital, who asked Lin to stop. Despite his anger, Lin declared he would even beat Jin. Jin warned Lin that Zhonghai Capital was Qin's company, and that Lin didn't stand a chance against him, urging him to cease his foolish behavior. Lin remained defiant, stating Qin wouldn't dare touch him, and questioned who they all were. Someone announced Qin's arrival. Kui warned Lin of impending trouble now that Qin was present, insinuating Qin would side with him because Qin's father was Kui's uncle. Lin retorted that he would still defeat Kui. Qin intervened, and Kui accused Lin of causing chaos in the company and attacking him. Qin confronted Kui, questioning what dishonorable act he had committed to provoke Lin. Shocked, Kuei remained silent. Qin asked Lin to calm down and explain what had transpired. Jin and Sugo were equally surprised by the unfolding events. Lin recounted to Qin what Kuei had done to Xiao, revealing that Xiao had been driven to contemplate suicide because of Kui's actions. Qin asked Kuei if this was true. Lin added that Kui had blamed Xiao for what he had done to her. Enraged, Qin also kicked Kuei. Kui protested, asking not to be treated that way since they were cousins. Qin replied that he didn't recognize Kui, and assured Lin that he would handle the situation. Lin agreed and expressed his desire for Kui to be in prison the next time they met. Qin agreed to ensure justice. Lin took Suge's hand and left, trusting Qin to handle the rest. Suge was amazed that Lin knew such a powerful person, and that the matter had been resolved so quickly. She praised Lin for daring to confront them. Lin replied that as a teacher he had a duty to act, otherwise he didn't deserve to be called a teacher. Lin criticized the school system for failing to properly educate the younger generation, leading them to struggle in social situations after graduation. Sujo decided to inform the headmaster about these issues so they could be addressed. They sat in the car, and Lin realized he had completed a task, earning a 60% experience boost and a reward of $160 million. Suju called him and offered to drive, noting he must be tired from the day's rush. She suggested he meet Xiao's boyfriend the next day, and Lin agreed. The scene shifted to Lin's house, where he received a call from the general manager of Dinghui Property Management Company, requesting a convenient time to discuss sending the property to Twin Towers. Lin scheduled the meeting for 1 o'clock the following afternoon. Meanwhile, at Kaishuan Villa, Qin was summoned by his father, Zheng. Zheng mentioned hearing that Qin had fired Kui and asked for the reasons behind it. They also discussed Lin, and Zheng advised Qin to work diligently. Qin refused, citing that their capital had exceeded $1.5 billion. Zheng then brought up Qin's girlfriend, suggesting marriage. Qin assumed Zheng was referring to Suge, but Zheng showed him a picture of another woman, stunning in appearance. Zheng informed Qin that it appeared he had agreed to marry, and that the girl had become the CEO of Chaoyang Group. Qin felt he had seen her before, and showed Zheng a picture of Lin with his girlfriend, asking if they were the same person. Zheng looked disappointed upon learning the girl already had a boyfriend. Qin mentioned he had been enjoying at a bar earlier and decided to return there. The next day, Lin arrived at the government service center with files. Some girls commented on his handsomeness as he entered. Receptionist Feng asked if he was there for business, and Lin stated he wanted to register a company. She agreed to help him fill out the forms and offered assistance if he had any questions. Meanwhile, a man watched them with an intense expression. Lin completed the forms and took them to the same man for review. The man noticed an error. The registered capital was listed as 80 million instead of the correct amount. A woman speculated to Feng that something was amiss and suggested Lin might be playing a prank on them. Lin wondered how they would react if he had correctly written $160 million. He insisted it was correct, prompting the man to ask for proof of the funds. Feng arrived angrily and offered to help him fill out the forms again. Lin questioned why he needed to refill if the information was already accurate. He showed them the bank statement confirming the transfer of funds. They were shocked to realize Lin was indeed wealthy despite his humble appearance. The man reviewed the form again and noted an error in the address, which referred to Twin Towers instead of the specific floors where the companies were registered. Lin showed documents proving his ownership of Twin Towers, clarifying that the entire building was under his company. Satisfied, the man confirmed there were no further issues and asked Lin to wait briefly. Lin received his business license, feeling he was now one step closer to achieving his goal. Lin was on a call with Suge, who informed her that she had invited Xiao's boyfriend to Star Coffee near the school to talk. Lin was driving his car and assured her he would be there in 20 minutes. Finally, he arrived and met Suge. Lin asked if the boy had arrived yet. She told him that he would be graduating in a month and, because his family was nice, he wouldn't say anything to them. Finally, Yang arrived and acted as if he didn't have much time, asking her to meet at a posh place next time. She wanted to talk to him about Xiao's suicide attempt. Yang said it wasn't his issue to discuss, and he didn't want such a girlfriend. Lin said they wouldn't interfere in Yang and Xiao's relationship, but asked him to comfort her. Yang said they had already ended their friendship, and he didn't want to date her. Suge became very angry about that. Yang stood up to leave. Lin stopped Suge, but she told him he didn't need to stop her. He asked what would happen if someone filmed and uploaded it to the internet. After all that, the scene shifted to Peninsula Grand Hotel, where a car arrived. Tianbo asked Yang where he had been and why they were meeting someone so important. Yang replied that he had some schoolwork to attend to. Tianbo drove Yang there because he wanted him to take over his business, and instructed him to behave properly in front of the person they were meeting. When they got out of the car, Yang agreed. Tianbo called Lin to ask if he had arrived or still needed to come. Lin replied that he had already seen Tianbo. As Lin arrived, Yang recognized him and told him not to follow him there. Tianbo asked what they were talking about. Yang explained that Lin was his teacher who had come to lecture him in the morning. Lin commented that Tianbo had a good son. Tianbo slapped Yang, saying that Lin was the new owner of Twin Tower, and Yang shouldn't be rude to him. Yang was shocked to learn that Lin was the owner. Lin revealed that he worked as a teacher to gain experience. Another man approached Lin and asked what was happening. Tianbo continued to scold his son. The man asked Lin if he wanted to kick the two out. Lin said he would handle it. Lin disclosed that he owned Twin Tower and Peninsula Grand Hotel, asking if they had any more questions. They were shocked to hear this revelation. Tianbo apologized for the incident, and Lin mentioned that Yang had acted too boldly, which wasn't necessary. Yang admitted his fault and promised to apologize to Xiao and marry her. Lin warned him never to approach her again. Tianbo bowed in apology to Lin and expressed his hope that Lin would consider giving them an opportunity, noting their top position among property management companies. Yang again acknowledged his mistake. Tianbo slapped him, and Lin instructed Tianbo to remove Yang from the premises before discussing business. Yang agreed, so Lin proceeded to discuss business with Tianbo. The scene then shifted to Suge and Xingbang at the school. Xingbang wondered why they had stopped trying to convince Yang. Suge explained that Yang's arrogance was the reason. Xingbang asked if Lin had gone there and couldn't handle the situation. Suge replied that unlike them, Lin remained calm. Xingbang asked if she was praising or criticizing Lin, noting that they seemed well matched. Suge was shocked to hear this. After that, she received a call informing her that Yang had come to meet her. She asked them to make Yang wait. Xingbang wondered why Yang had come there. When she finally met Yang, he apologized for everything, and added that he planned to visit Xiao, asking Suge to take him there. She agreed, thinking Lin was so impressive for handling the matter. The scene then shifted to Ying's house, where Lin met her. He suggested they go buy a car for her. She asked him to have breakfast first, and then to try something she had prepared. Lin remarked that she had made a lot of food for breakfast. She replied that all of it was healthy food. Then she fed him with her own hands. He commented that it was delicious, and asked what type of car she wanted. She replied that she wanted a beautiful white one. He suggested a Maserati, but she declined, saying it was beyond her budget, and her senior already had one, so she decided on an Audi instead. He promised to buy her a car, as he had promised, and suggested they go to the dealership. At the dealership, Yu welcomed them and asked if they were looking to buy a car. Lin explained their requirements, and Yu took down the details. Ying mentioned her budget was only $30,000. Yu was shocked and hesitated to assist them, so he called Li Jing to show them the cars. She agreed, and Lin asked Yu if he thought their budget was too low, which was why he hadn't shown them any cars. Yu agreed with him. Just then, a man approached to ask whose sports car was parked outside. Yu checked and found it was worth more than $5 million. He asked Liu what was going on. Liu explained that he wanted to drive in, but the car was in the way, so he wanted it moved. Lin apologized and told Ying they should leave. He said he would move the car with Yang. Yu asked if the sports car outside belonged to Lin. Lin asked if there was a problem and suggested to Ying that they go to a different dealership since they weren't welcome there. Liu asked them to wait and said he would show them the car. Yu apologized to Lin, who replied that he would take his business elsewhere. Liu became angry and fired Yu on the spot. Ying apologized to Lin for the embarrassment. They arrived at a different dealership, and Lin told Ying she didn't need to apologize because with her help, he understood the beginning of his job. They found a car, and Ying said people might think she was the mistress of a rich person. Lin told her to ignore them, whether she liked it or not. Seeing that she did, he suggested they test drive the car. Afterwards, he bought the car for her. He suggested that she had had her license for a long time, so she could practice driving with him when he was free. She was thrilled and thanked him for the car. He hugged her and told her it was his pleasure. Lin arrived at Jiangnan restaurant to meet Guan, who mentioned she had been waiting for him. He suggested they sit down and eat while they talked. Lin asked when the first phase would be completed. Gen replied that it would take 2 months. Lin commented that it was too slow and promised to transfer her the $60 million the next day, urging her to find more companies to collaborate with. She agreed and thought he was very generous. Lin asked her to design a logo for his Lingyun group. She inquired about the company's location, and Lin informed her it was in Twin Tower. She remarked on Lin's success at such a young age, and mentioned there was a new owner there. She then asked if he had any specific design requirements. Lin requested incorporating the Lingyan Tower into the design. She hesitated, suggesting it might be inappropriate to change the name since he worked there. Lin revealed that he had already purchased Twin Tower. She was shocked to hear this, and apologized for getting overly excited. Afterwards, she invited him to her home for coffee, but Lin declined due to other commitments. She promised to send him an email with the project details and then left. Suddenly, a waitress arrived with Suge, who was heavily intoxicated. Suge expressed her desire to drink more. Lin noticed them and called out to Suge, who said it was a coincidence to meet him there. The waitress explained that Suge's boyfriend had broken up with her, which was why she was drinking so much. The waitress asked Lin to take Suge home. Lin lifted Suge and asked where she lived. Suge commented on her ex-boyfriend's shamelessness and complimented Lin's looks. He helped her into his car, but Suge insisted she didn't want to go home and wanted to drink more. Lin decided to take her to the Peninsula Grand Hotel, which he owned. A man asked if Suge was his girlfriend. Lin denied it and asked for the best sweet and wine. As they were served, Lin stopped Suge from drinking more alcohol. She asked if he thought she would misbehave with him. Lin assured her it wouldn't be his fault. Suge mentioned she had a surprise for him. She led him into a room and asked him to sit down, assuring him she didn't intend to harm him. She showed him various items, and he asked where she had obtained them. She explained that her boyfriend had told her she wasn't capable of such things, so he had suggested she gain some experience. After acquiring the items, he had left her. She then playfully restrained Lin's hands, telling him to behave. She blindfolded him, and when he asked what she was doing, she replied that he would understand soon. They both enjoyed their time together. Afterward, Lin fell asleep, and Suge wondered what had prompted her to act this way with him. She quietly left without saying anything. When Lin woke up, he found that she had run away without a word. The girl who had given him the task then appeared, and revealed that his proficiency had reached 70%, offering him the opportunity to activate a new career. Puzzled, he agreed to activate it. She informed him that his new job would be as a delivery man, promising him numerous rewards including $1.5 million and a limited edition Tomoburini T12 with top-notch driving skills. Lin wondered why she had changed her attire. He realized that this new career seemed promising and would offer more freedom than teaching at school. She informed him that his bike was parked in the hotel's parking lot and suggested he go check it out. Lin dressed up and went to see his bike, noting its worth of $1 million and how cool it looked. He also found a helmet that wasn't yet available for sale. Lin put on the helmet and rode off on his bike. Lin meets Suge, who is shocked to see the bike. She thanks him for taking care of her the previous night. He advises her to drink less. She agrees, and comments on how beautiful the hike was, wondering why he hadn't taken her there before. He explains that it's a place for study, not for showing off. She asks why he came with the bike that day. He replies that he came to collect his belongings and resign from his position. She asks if the incident from the previous day influenced his decision to resign. He denies it, saying he wants to do delivery jobs for freedom and relaxation. She wonders why he would do such work despite being wealthy and asks if he will deliver things she orders. He jokes that he doesn't offer special services. She insists he come with her to finish his tasks. Later, Lin quickly receives an order for a music stand. She arrives at Shangchem International Apartments and meets Guo to deliver the order, asking for $20. Hor arrives angrily, questioning why Lin came so quickly and challenging him to another game. Lin suggests to the boy that he should learn that skill. Howard asks Lin why he didn't learn it himself and criticizes him, saying if he could play the piano he wouldn't need to deliver things. Angrily, Lin asks if Howard is sure that he can't play. Howard mentions that it's so expensive that Lin couldn't afford it. Guo gets angry at Howard and tells Lin not to mind him. Lin insists that he really does know how to play the piano. Howard shows off his mother's talent, prompting Lin to play their piano. Howard tells his mother not to stop Lin and challenges him to play. Lin bets that if he plays the piano well, Howard will have to listen to his mother. Howard agrees to the challenge. As Lin sits down, thinking about the wisdom he gained from the sages, he realizes he hasn't played the piano in a while. When he starts playing, Guo reminds everyone that it's the 8th hardest piece in the world, making the prodigy struggle. She tells Lin that she didn't expect him to play so well, and even though Guo is a college professor, she wouldn't attempt it. Lin thanks her and asks Howard to listen to his mother. Howard blames Lin for being his mother's student and accuses him of pretending to be a delivery man. Lin replies that he didn't know Guo and asks Howard to practice instead. Howard sits down to start practicing. Guo thanked Lin and introduced herself, suggesting that he could secure a well-paying job by playing the piano. Lin replied that he currently had no intention of changing careers. She asked for his contact information so she could reach out to him about any job opportunities in the future. He shared his contact details with her. Afterwards, he was congratulated and rewarded with access to Moon Bay Beach. He thought about how he could utilize the land near his house, which was a great opportunity for him. Soon after, he received a call from someone at the Moon Bay Beach Authority asking when he could complete the necessary procedures. He agreed and went to the office, where he met Kai, who had contacted him earlier. She showed him all the documents related to the area and asked him to check for any issues. Lin asked why public property was being privatized. She explained that it was cost-effective to delegate the management to a private entity, and due to the unusual social background of the person, the area had been put up for auction. Although Lin would have ownership of the scenic spot, it still belonged to the country, and he currently held a 70-year lease that could be extended. Lin decided to meet with the manager. Lin called Song to inquire about Moon Bay Beach. Song revealed that the individuals there owed $30,000. Lin decided to pick up Song, and they headed to the location together. Upon arrival, Lin encountered some rough-looking individuals. One man asked Song why he was there, and Song explained that he wanted to meet their manager, Yao. The man replied that he didn't know where Yao was. Song urged them not to lie, pointing out Yao's car parked nearby. Song introduced Lin as the owner of the beach and clarified that they weren't just there for the debt. The men were shocked and informed Lin that Yao was in his office. Lin took the file from Song and instructed the men to tell Yao to return their money, emphasizing that he didn't want to cause any harm. Lin then left the area. Later, a man informed Yao that the owner of the beach had come and warned Yao not to interfere in their business. He also demanded payment for the debt owed to Wangjiang Pier. Yao responded that the debt wasn't the owner of the beach's concern. However, the man revealed that the owner also controlled Wangjiang Pier. Chang told Yao that it seemed the owner didn't respect him. Yao became enraged and plotted to discredit Lin. Chiang expressed appreciation for the idea, but declined to participate. Lin arrives at the Peninsula Grand Hotel, where a man asks him what he needs. Lin explains that he's there to check on an account. The man inquires about which account and offers to speak with someone about it. Lin asks if there's any money owed that hasn't been returned to the Peninsula Grand Hotel. The man confirms it amounts to over $470,000 and provides answers to Lin's questions. Later, Lin asks if Chin owes them money. The man informs him that Chin brought some girls the previous night and didn't pay. Lin calls Chin from a different phone, identifies himself, and requests payment of $18,000. Chin tells Lin not to meddle in other people's affairs. Lin asserts that it's his property and offers Chin free residence there if he cooperates. Chin agrees and mentions he's currently in Wang's office. Shortly after, a man informs them that Yao has arrived to meet Lin. Lin asks to let them upstairs. Yao, accompanied by Chiang and others, arrives. The man orders security to assemble outside the first floor. Yao gave Lin a gift by agreeing to cooperate, but Lin replied that he didn't want their cooperation. Yao warned Lin that if he didn't cooperate, he would destroy the entire area. Lin, having nothing to lose, challenged Yao to see who would suffer more. Lin grabbed a cup as if to strike Yao. Other men rushed to attack Lin, but he managed to fend them off. Lin revealed that he owned the beach, Wangjiang Pier, and all the security downstairs. Yao was shocked to learn that Lin was the owner of the Peninsula Grand Hotel. Looking out the window, Yao saw a crowd of people gathered outside. Lin suggested that with a small investment, Yao could improve his situation. Meanwhile, Chin met Chiang, and Yao hurried to Chin seeking help against Lin. Chin ignored him and asked Lin what was going on, and if they were qualified to cooperate with Lin. Chiang and Yao were stunned by Chin's response. Lin warned those threatening to destroy his business. Chin became angry upon hearing this and shouted for them to leave immediately. Yao wondered about Lin's connection with Chin. Chin kicked Yao out and demanded to know when Yao would repay the money. Yao assured them he would return it, and they all hastily departed. Chin asked Lin if he wanted to teach anyone else a lesson. Lin replied that now wasn't the time to waste. Chin said that since he had helped Lin, he wouldn't charge the $18,000, emphasizing the necessity of shamelessness in business. Meanwhile, Lin received a call from Ji Qing, who heard he had quit his job and asked if he left because he was flirting with a student. Lin denied this, explaining he was there for experience, and transitioned to delivery work once that was achieved. Ji Qing said she would place an order, but Lin hung up upon hearing this. He left to make deliveries, leaving Chin alone. Lin arrived at Ji Qing's place to deliver the items, and she remarked on how quickly he had come. They went inside, and Lin asked if she wanted to take the vegetables back home after he delivered them to the company. She declined, mentioning that her room had a small kitchen where sometimes she would ask the cafeteria to prepare something special from her books. Lin offered to cook something for her, and he put in a sincere effort. After 20 minutes, he served the food on the table. Jiqing was delighted and praised the meal, saying it was much better than the company's food and smelled wonderful. Lin asked her to enjoy it, and went to fetch a glass of juice. As he was getting the juice, he heard Jiqing's voice calling out, so he hurried back to see what had happened. He found her eating and complimenting the delicious taste of the food. She complimented the food a lot, wondering why he was so good at cooking. He replied that he had a bit of talent for it. She asked what reward he wanted for that. He kissed her and said he wanted that as a reward. He took her to have some romance, but she asked him why they were in the office. Lin commented that it was more exciting there. After some time, she was sitting on his lap, and he asked why she called him in the morning. She told him she wanted him to go to Wangjiang Pier with her. He agreed and said they would also check the progress there. After that, they went to the bank of the river, and she mentioned that she spoke with Guan about her company's project. The budget was $55 million, and if she didn't make any profit, Lin could save $23 million. He told her not to save money for that. She explained that since the project was so big, she didn't want to make any profit from it, and he could save the money for emergencies. He said he wouldn't use it. She agreed, and mentioned that if they included Moonbay Beach, it would be perfect. He said he would buy that as well. They both came down and she asked if it was so easy. But since the government held that property, he wouldn't do anything. They both wore helmets as they went to the construction site, and she mentioned that sunbathing on the beach was better than using a personal swimming pool. She thought he might offer an opportunity, but she had overestimated him. A man saw Lin and said that Yao had returned their money, and now Moonbay Beach was under their control. Jiqing was shocked to hear this and asked what was going on. He explained that Moonbay Beach was now theirs, and he asked if she wanted to sunbathe there. She remarked that Lin was so bad, always teasing her. Jiqing mentioned that since he owned Wangjiang Pier, she asked if he could take her to the beach when he was free. He agreed, and suggested they also go diving there. She was surprised that he knew about that too. She suggested meeting with 2 people to establish the foundation, and she would also find an office building for him. He left the procedures to her, with the address being Lingyun Tower. She asked if he had bought that too. He confirmed and then mentioned he had to go to work to deliver some things. He asked her to go back safely. She commented that it would be tiring for him to deliver the goods and wished him to be careful before leaving. He received an order to buy 2 swimming rings of any brand, each costing around $30. Lin reached a shop and inquired about swimming rings priced around $30 that were of good quality. The man showed him one priced at $32, so Lin bought 2 and asked for a receipt. The man commented that Lin seemed very handsome and offered to introduce him to some wealthy girls. Lin joked that the man seemed like a broker, to which the man replied that he was just kidding. Lin arrived at the beach and called the delivery man. The man instructed him to deliver the items under the red umbrella where he was sitting. Lin mentioned that there were many big red umbrellas. The man became angry, and then Lin was called over by a girl named Bing. Finding Lin handsome, Bing asked another girl, Lulu, to check out how awesome the delivery man was. Lulu looked and asked if he was really the delivery man. Faye remarked that Lin was clueless. Bing wondered if Lin wanted to work as a waiter at her store. Lin approached them to deliver the swimming rings, but he asked for $64 as each one cost $32. Bing offered Lin a job as a waiter at her clothing store. Lin declined and asked who would pay the bill. Faye became angry and said he had ordered Lin to bring swimming rings costing $30 each, but Lin brought ones costing $32, indicating he was thinking of his profit. Faye suggested that Lin might have bought cheaper swimming rings and shown them a fake receipt. Lin asked if they thought he needed money. Faye asked if Lin was a rich person. Bing asked Faye to stop and expressed her belief that Lin wouldn't do such a thing, offering to pay for it herself. Faye insisted that he had invited them to enjoy themselves, so he wouldn't let her pay. Faye handed money to Lin. Lin found it was only $60, but the total was $64. Faye explained that he had ordered 2 rings costing $30 each, so he wouldn't pay the price difference. Lulu agreed with Faye and advised Lin to learn from his mistake. Lin gave the money back to Bing, saying that her friends were not wealthy and to consider it a gift. He started to leave, but Faye boasted that he earned $310,000 a year. Lin replied that he wouldn't argue over the price of 2 swimming rings. Then Faye ordered something else from Lin. Bing asked him not to bother himself and said he wouldn't win against Faye. Lulu asked Bing not to interfere. Lin received an order from Faye to buy a Ferrari 812. Faye instructed Lin to buy it and he would cover the cost. Lulu teased Lin, saying he only bought the Ferrari model. Lin left to fulfill the order. Afterward, Faye had wine and offered some to Bing, but she declined. Lulu encouraged Bing to have fun. Bing replied that they shouldn't disrespect a delivery boy. Faye was shocked to hear this, and asked if she really thought of him that way. Lin returned with a suitcase. Faye became angry, and demanded that Lin apologize before leaving. Bing got angry at Faye for going too far. Lulu told Bing not to act like that and said she didn't need to argue for a delivery man. Bing replied that she wouldn't accept Faye treating anyone like that. Faye told Lin that he had the money ready, but since Lin hadn't brought the car, Faye would buy it himself. Lin opened the bag and showed him the purchase papers, with a total cost of $1.1 million, and asked how Faye intended to pay. Faye asked how Lin managed to get that. Lin signaled for a truck to open, revealing the car Faye had ordered. Lin sarcastically remarked that since Faye was rich, he could pay for it. Faye apologized for his behavior. Lin asked him to get on his knees and beg for mercy. Faye became angry and threatened to call Yao, who was influential in the area. Lin found this amusing, and Faye called Yao, offering him $15,000 for help. Afterward, Faye instructed Lin to wait there. Bing advised Lin to leave quietly. Eventually, Yao arrived with some men. Faye hurried to Yao and pointed out Lin as the troublemaker. Lin turned to them and questioned if they really wanted to cause trouble. They all looked at Lin and bowed before him. Lin reminded them that he had already asked them to leave, yet they had returned within a day. Yao apologized, admitting his mistake. Faye was confused by the situation. Then Yao confronted Faye, emphasizing that Lin was the owner of the beach and Wangjiang Pier, questioning Faye's audacity in messing with Lin. Bing and Lulu were shocked to hear this. Yao asked Lin how he wanted to handle the situation. Lin requested Faye to kneel and beg for mercy. They threatened Faye until he complied. Faye, frightened, did as instructed. Lin told Yao that he was giving them one more chance, and if they needed money, they should contact Song to arrange a job for them. Yao and Chang thanked Lin for his help. Bing said she didn't want to stay there anymore but didn't have a car to leave, so she asked Lin for a ride. Lin asked her to change out of her swimsuit because it was inappropriate. She replied that it didn't matter, and made her feel cool. Lulu asked Lin to take her as well, but Lin asked if she wanted to go home or just get into the truck. Lin took Bing on his bike and they left. The woman who had given them the task arrived, mentioning that her experience earned her 40% and a reward of $150 million. Lin thanked her, and just as he received a notification of his bank account being credited, Bing noticed he had mistakenly received $2.3 million. She was shocked and commented that it would soon reach $10 million. She apologized for misunderstanding his message and mentioned that her store's account was a fraction of Lin's $230 million. Lin corrected her, stating that it was actually $230 million, not $2.3 million. She was shocked to hear this and wondered how someone could be so rich. She took him to a clothing store, and wearing a casual dress, asked him what he thought of the store. Lin asked if she owned it. She confirmed and mentioned that she had graduated from Donghua University. She offered him a drink, but he declined and took her company card. She suggested they exchange numbers to stay in touch. He agreed, mentioning he might order a dress for his uniform from her. She agreed and promised to provide him with the best service. Lin stepped outside and called Seung. Seung answered and said he would be in Zhonghai in a few days. They hadn't met in half a month. Lin asked him to stop talking in that tone. Seung asked if Lin knew about the site company and that they had solved the control unit program, ready to cooperate with them. Lin asked him to call in advance, promising to entertain Seung well. Then he hung up the call. Lin wondered how Psych had gotten ahead of him when he had written the codes just several days ago. He arrived at the Longshin Institute and met with Ying. He asked to see what she had been busy with. She replied that they had completed the program for the control unit and started the third test, but they were still encountering issues with the frequency hopping band. As they were discussing, Lin met Fuyu. Sitting down, Lin informed them that Site Company had finalized their control unit program. Both Ying and Fuyu were shocked to hear this. Lin speculated that Psych might have employed Chu, whom Lin had fired. Ying reassured him, stating that Chu's technology was weak and their program was superior to Chu's. Lin raised his voice, criticizing her for being naive and not considering market timing or applying for a patent. He suggested they apply for a patent before others announced their programs. Lin asked if she still thought they had the initiative, pointing out that others might have already applied for patents and they would be left behind. Ying was stunned by this realization. Fuyu bowed his head and admitted his mistake, asking to be fired. Lin asked Fuyu not to be devastated. Despite Fuyu accepting responsibility for the weakness that caused the loophole, Lin urged him to forget about it and focus on moving forward with their work. They both sat down to code, and Lin mentioned that Site Company had stolen their technology results. However, he emphasized that their version was original and needed improvement, and they could surpass Psych rather than doing nothing. They both felt optimistic, and Lin began coding. 12 hours later, Lin remarked that coding was exhausting. He finished coding, but the lithography technology couldn't execute the program, so they needed 2 more Dutch lithography machines. Fuyu said he would contact someone to arrange that. Lin asked Ying to organize a team to quickly develop a new mobile phone system, aiming for an operating system better than the iOS. She agreed, and Lin mentioned they could end the era of foreign chip monopolies and usher in a new future. Fuyu commented that the future lay in talented hands. Lin came to his car and received an order to buy an original pair charger. After an hour, he arrived to deliver the order and told Huai that it was his order, totaling $96. Huai asked why it was so expensive when the pair store was offering a 50% discount that day. Lin checked and informed him that the discount had ended the previous day. Huai blamed Lin, accusing him of trying to profit from the price difference. Lin replied that he had the invoice to prove he hadn't cheated. A woman came out from inside and told Huai not to embarrass the delivery boy. Huai handed the charger to her and asked her to take care of it since he wouldn't be there that night due to his night duty. As Lin was leaving, Huai asked him to take 2 garbage bags as well. Lin replied that it wasn't his job to do so. Huai threatened to complain to the company about Lin if he didn't take the bags. Lin still refused and told Huai to do whatever he wanted. Lin ignored that man and came downstairs, where he found a delivery man struggling to carry a very heavy table alone. Lin offered to help him. The man thanked him and joked about not knowing if he was a delivery boy or a garbage collector. Lin asked why he accepted such tasks. The man explained that if he didn't, customers might not give him a 5-star rating, which would affect his job. Lin admired his dedication. Lin confessed he started out the same way. Just then, Huai arrived and threatened to report Lin. Lin called him an idiot and told him to do as he pleased. Huai got angry at being insulted and boasted about his wealth, even suggesting he could have Lin fired with a single phone call. Lin scoffed at his cheap tactics and Huai showed off his sports car. Huai was shocked that Lin did such work. Lin explained it was to understand life and asked where Huai worked. Huai was defensive, asking what was wrong. Lin warned him that mistreating people would eventually backfire. Then Lin left, leaving Huai to regret his actions and vow not to repeat them. Lin received a new order, feeling that it might also go awry. He arrived at Dinghui Zhonghai City Apartments, knocked on the door, and found Qing there. She asked why he was doing errands. Lin requested to leave, then handed her something, asking for $6. She scoffed, suggesting he might lose all his money in such a business and end up doing odd jobs. Lin replied sharply that it wasn't her place to judge and asked for payment. She questioned if he was in such dire straits that he needed money and how he could engage in business while being poor. She dropped the medicine, declaring she no longer wanted it and demanding a refund. Lin was taken aback by her reaction. He picked up the money and started to leave. Qing asked him to wait and take his photo. Lin asked for the reason. She explained she wanted to film the former top student's downfall and send it to their classmates. Just then, Feng arrived and asked what was happening. Seeing Lin there, he questioned why Lin was there. Qing claimed Lin, once her classmate suffering from poverty, was now an errand boy. Feng pushed her, warning her not to speak ill of Lin again. Qing insisted that Lin was no match for Feng. Feng revealed that Lin was simply experiencing life and didn't deserve ridicule. Qing was confused by Feng's defense. Feng apologized to Lin on Qing's behalf. Lin gave Feng the medicine and told Qing to stay away from him, also requesting a 5-star rating. Feng agreed. As Lin returned downstairs, he found a 5-star rating for the delivery. Feng, still angry, made Qing take all the medicines she had dismissed. Lin wondered if he continued working like this, he could finish the job by the next day. Jixing called him and asked if he was free to come over and cook at her house. He agreed and offered to pick her up. She refused, suggesting they meet at the supermarket in the plaza because she needed to buy ingredients. He agreed to wait for her there. When he arrived, she informed him that Lin was a VIP at the new supermarket, so they might get an extra discount. He agreed, and as they entered, she began filling the cart with items. He asked if they hadn't come just for ingredients. She acknowledged this and explained that desserts put women in a good mood. He then suggested they also buy the necessary ingredients. As she stood close to him, he jokingly told her not to put him in a good mood. She playfully told him not to be like that. After that, they bought some of the ingredients, and with the cart full, Lin said it would be enough as there was no more space. Jixing insisted on getting some beer and asked Lin to cook the dish he made last time because it was so good. Pan called her, claiming to be a scout and offering her a chance to become a star in the entertainment industry. Lin intervened, stating that Jixing wasn't interested and suggested Pan ask the lady selling fish instead. Pan noticed a plump girl selling fish and joked that Ji Qing seemed interested. He then boasted about his achievements, claiming Ji Qing could earn 100 million annually. Ji Qing was tempted by the offer. Pan advised Lin not to hold back his girlfriend if she was interested. Lin agreed, but said she'd have to wait 15 years. Pan didn't understand what Lin meant. Lin showed his account with 1.5 billion and said he could support her for 15 years, leaving it up to Pan whether he wanted to wait until then. Pan was shocked to see so much money. Lin suggested they meet again in 15 years if Pan was still working there. Pan apologized and asked Lin not to take it seriously before leaving. Ji Qing asked Lin to deposit 100 million first. He agreed but conditioned it on reviewing her project that night when they got back home. As he got closer to her, she asked him to wait while she waited at home. He suggested they engage in a 300-round game. The scene shifted to Yunshui Villa, where they both arrived. Lin asked if her parents were truly absent. She confirmed they were. He sat down and mentioned they had been interrupted many times there. Then he proposed starting tant. He took her hand, and she observed how he managed it. He turned her around to lie on his lap. She asked him to feed her grapes, but Lin placed them on her body and ate them with his mouth. She commented that it was getting messy, but he replied that it felt creamy. After all that, she handed him the file and offered to support him with $10 million. He acknowledged that it would be sufficient. She asked him to arrange a meeting with the foundation's manager at her office at 12 o'clock the next day. He tossed the file aside, telling her to do as she pleased. He suggested they start the 300-round game again. The next day, he dropped her off at the office, and she reminded him not to forget about the meeting. He agreed, and as he left, he received an order but was called to the same location. Lin felt uneasy, and after a while, he arrived. A man was there with 5 errand boys, and Lin wondered if the man wanted to move a car. The man was live streaming and claimed the car was stuck in a ditch, flaunting his wealth by calling 6 more errand boys for help. Lin remarked that this was shameless behavior. The man pointed out that Lin was the last one and promised them all a 5-star rating for helping. Lin argued that 6 wouldn't be enough and suggested the man call more. The man insisted they were all errand boys, using it as an excuse. Lin turned away, telling them to do whatever they could. The man announced to his viewers that the boy would remain an errand boy for another 10 years. Lin got into his car and revved the engine. Hearing this, the man assumed it was a supercar approaching, showing it off to his viewers and boasting that he would soon have a car like that too. However, when he saw Lin driving the car, he was shocked. Lin pondered on the mindset of wealthy men and doubted the man would remain rich for his whole life. The viewers watched this unfold, and as Lin left, some people began unsubscribing from the man's channel. Lin arrived at Ji Qing's office and noted it was already time for their meeting, but the other party hadn't arrived yet. She gestured for him to look behind him. As he turned, he saw ingredients laid out like a small kitchen. He remarked that he had already cooked for her the night before, but she still wanted him to cook again. She grabbed his hand and reminded him that she had promised to cook delicious food for him once she learned how. He asked if she was serious. Lin cooked the food and served it. Ji Qing complimented him just by looking at it. Someone knocked on the door, so Ji Qing invited them in. It was Yuan and Qi Xian. Ji Qing mentioned the meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m., so why had they arrived early? Yuan replied that they didn't want to be late. He commented that Ji Qing had a talented cook, but Lin didn't seem like a cook, so he asked if Lin was the new secretary. Ji Qing was about to introduce Lin, but he signaled her not to. Instead, Lin introduced Qi Xian, praising her superb business skills. Ji Qing welcomed them and suggested they have lunch together. After the meal, Yuan complimented the delicious food. Qi Xian discussed something related to the chip industry. Yuan noticed it was almost 3 o'clock and remarked that the new boss hadn't arrived yet, showing a lack of punctuality. Ji Qing revealed that the new boss was already there and introduced Lin to them both. They were both shocked, and Yuan apologized to Lin for assuming he was just a cook. Lin assured them it was fine and said he now understood their personalities, asking if they had any questions. Yuan asked about Lin's future plans in the business. Lin replied that the foundation wasn't his future, he believed in expanding globally. When no one responded, Lin remarked that it seemed they thought he was joking. Ji Qing commented that every ambitious person deserved respect. Afterwards, they discussed the details. Lin raised his glass and proposed to pay each of them 5 million per year, with additional dividends once the company went public. Yuan accepted the offer, also taking a drink. Qi Xian thanked Lin, mentioning the salary was generous. Lin replied that he valued talent over money, considering them founding members of the company aimed at global success, so he wanted to be generous. They all cheered and toasted. Lin asks them to let him show the new office and looks forward to their future work. Ji-Ching asks if they aren't afraid Lin will give them a small, dark room to start the business. Hee-Yuan says she only wants AC there because she won't use a fan, otherwise the documents will get messed up. They arrive at Lingyun Towers, and Hee-Yuan asks if Lin rented an office in the Twin Towers among all those high-end buildings. Lin reveals that he bought the Twin Towers. They are shocked, and Hee-Yuan suggests herself as his secretary, promising to be modern as well. Ji-Ching asks them not to say anything about her. Lin leaves the work to them and reveals there are $500 million in the account, so they should make decisions, and he heads off to work. Teasingly, Hee-Yuan asks if Lin works to cook for the pretty CEOs. Lin denies it, revealing he used to work as a delivery man. They are shocked to hear this. Ji-Ching says it's enough and that Lin is different from other wealthy people. As they were leaving, Hee-Yuan and Qi-Xian began discussing how to arrange things to run smoothly there. Lin asked Ji-Ching if she planned to join Chaoyang Group. She replied that it depended on whether he had the capacity to make such a purchase. Getting close to her, he asked if she had any directions for future development or anything in mind. Lin replied that he believed in big data. She asked if that was what he wanted. He replied that what he wanted wasn't so easy to obtain. She suggested he start directly as an investor to establish an investment company. He remarked that she had been very smart recently. She asked him to take advantage of Hee-Yuan. He reassured her not to worry because he had already planned for that. Then he asked Ji-Ching if she would be willing to change her job and become his secretary. She pushed him away by refusing and asked him to leave her company because she had a lot of work to do. He agreed with her. The scene shifts to Zhonghai Airport, where Lin was inspecting a car brought by Tian. He checked that it had received 10 5-star ratings. The girl appeared and revealed that he would be rewarded with a lucky card that would bring him luck. Lin had been waiting there for Sung, and finally they met after a long time. Sung hugged him emotionally. Zhao asked them not to do silly things at the airport as it was embarrassing. Sung was eager to kiss Lin. Lin asked him to calm down, lest Zhao think Sung was acting strangely. Sung introduced Yue to Lin, who suggested they go for a meal. Zhao said she didn't eat food from stalls due to hygiene concerns. Sung revealed they always ate at stalls during their college days. Zhao mentioned there was a dragon mansion opened in Zhonghai and suggested they go there. Sung asked why they had to go to such an expensive place if there were no other guests. She added that Lin hadn't brought any gifts for their first meeting, so he should treat them there. She also mentioned hearing that Lin was working in a real estate company and earning a lot. Lin replied that he had left that job and was currently working as a delivery man, so he could afford to treat them to a meal in the cafeteria. They were shocked to hear this, and Sung asked Lin to come with him and he would find him a job. Lin declined the offer. After that, they reached the parking area where Zhao met her brother, who revealed he was taking pictures with the Bentley there and didn't expect to see them in the parking area. Lin and Sung were shocked by Zhao's family's wealth. The boy asked Zhao if she had brought the car, and their mother invited her to come and have a meal. Sung mentioned that Zhao hadn't found a job yet, and it was difficult to survive with only Sung's salary. The boy showed off that he had bought a top-level Magatan after working for 2 years. Just then, Lin asked if the car was really that important. He could give his car to Sung. They were shocked to see that the Bentley belonged to Lin. Sung asked if the Bentley really belonged to Lin. Zhao asked if it was true. But how could Lin, an errand boy, have such a car? Sung had no idea about this. Zhao suggested they all grab a meal together, but Lin replied that he was going to a food stall where she didn't want to go. Zhao's brother offered to treat them to a meal to celebrate becoming friends. Sung also asked Lin to join them for a meal. Lin invited them to get into his car. They all sat down, and Zhao's brother gestured for Sung to sit in the back. Lin didn't find this arrangement comfortable. Zhao started taking pictures because the car's interior was so nice. Zhao's brother mentioned that it was a luxury car not affordable to everyone. He asked Lin to exchange contacts as they were now friends, and also asked to borrow the car for his friend's wedding. Lin didn't consider him a friend yet. Zhao told her brother to ask Sung since Lin intended to give the car as a gift to Sung. Sung refused to accept such an expensive gift. Zhao became angry upon hearing this. They reached Zhonghai Food Street where Lin took them to a restaurant he used to frequent with Sung during college. Sung asked Zhao to order something, but she declined. Lin ordered tasty barbecue for them. The server agreed and brought their food. Sung thanked her and said he wanted to talk with Lin. Lin suggested Sung come over to his place to stay the night, where they could have plenty of time to chat. Sung reassured him that the company would provide accommodation, so there was no need to worry. Zhao agreed that Lin's suggestion was good, and Sung should go there, while she would head home to find some invoices for the company to pay and earn money. Sung declined, saying Lin had his girlfriend to consider, and he didn't want to impose. Lin replied that he had broken up and now lived alone. He promised to have food and wine sent over for a second round of talks. A man arrived on a bike and asked if they needed a ride. Lin inquired about Juzhou homes. Jiao and her brother realized it was a luxurious community. After the meal, they walked, and Jiao's brother suggested she find a way to get in somehow. She replied ambiguously, hinting at a plan. Except for Lin, they all got into the car, and Lin asked where he would sit. Jiao's brother stepped out to make room. Lin informed Jiao that he was going home with Sung, while she would head to her own home. She expressed concern about Sung being quite drunk, and asked if he wanted her to accompany him. Lin agreed to take her along. Half an hour later, they arrived at his mansion, leaving Sung and Jiao shocked by its grandeur. Sung remarked that it seemed like an expensive house. Lin casually mentioned that it was worth about $1 billion. They were astonished to hear that. A man welcomed Lin and informed him that the barbecue ingredients had arrived. Lin instructed them to bring everything inside and invited Sung and Jiao to join him for a second round. Sung agreed, and then Lin went to get some wine. Jiao asked if Lin was a low-profile billionaire. Sung replied that he didn't know because Lin had always been normal during their college days. Jiao encouraged Sung to get closer to Lin and accept the car he was offering. Lin became upset, stating that he wouldn't accept such an expensive gift because he was Sung's friend, not his father. Sung told him to head inside, ending the conversation. Jiao decided to take care of Lin herself. They both sat down to have their meal. Jiao excused herself to go to the restroom, but instead, she went to Lin and said she wanted to talk to him, asking if he was single. Lin felt she was acting strangely and showed her a photo of himself with his girlfriend, the CEO of Chaoyang Group, who was worth over $1 billion. He asked if Jiao knew any better girls to introduce to him. Jiao was shocked to hear this, and then confessed that she had fallen in love with him since they first met and wanted to be in a relationship with him. He was shocked by what she was saying. She suddenly began taking off her clothes, and he was taken aback by her actions without any explanation. Lin told Jiao that her behavior was unacceptable to him and that she didn't deserve Sung either, asking her to leave. Angered, she threatened to make him regret his decision. Lin asked why he would regret it. Suddenly she cried out for help, and when Sung arrived, she claimed she had come for the restroom but that Lin had tried to harm her. Sung refused to believe it, knowing Lin wasn't capable of such behavior. Jiao asked why Sung wasn't taking her side, accusing Lin of wrongdoing and demanding $1 billion. Sung intervened, telling Jiao that enough was enough. Lin questioned why she was demanding such a large sum for her body, and she threatened to ruin his reputation by posting about it on social media. Lin denied touching her and pointed out the security system in his house. Jiao pleaded with Sung to support her, but he walked away, leaving her hurt and asking if he no longer loved her. Sung, furious, berated her for her shamelessness. Lin instructed Jiao to leave, and she hurried out. Lin apologized to Sung for that. Sung replied that Lin didn't have to apologize, but Sung would thank Lin for letting him know about Jiao's character. Lin suggested they talk about something else. They sat down to eat, and Sung encouraged Lin to ask questions. Lin asked how much Sung knew about Psych. Sung replied that the hike had made a breakthrough in the terminal program for chips, and he needed to win that project. Lin asked about the people communicating with Sung regarding this. Sung explained and asked if Lin was interested in the chip industry. Lin replied that he was only a bit curious. Then he handed the car keys to Sung to drive. Sung declined the offer of the expensive car. Lin insisted he wanted to give the car as a gift to Sung. Sung replied that even though Lin wanted to help him, Sung would continue to work hard, and it wasn't too late for Lin to support him if Sung couldn't bear it anymore. Lin said Sung was a good friend and suggested they have a drink. The next morning, Lin discovered that Sung had already left for work after preparing breakfast for him. Lin received an order for ghostwriting but didn't understand what it entailed. He called the customer to confirm if she really wanted an essay ghostwritten, emphasizing the professional implications and potential impact on her graduation score if anything went wrong. She clarified that he needed to transcribe the essay into a computer within a limited time frame and urged him to come as soon as possible. Lin agreed and headed to his car. The scene shifted to Zhonghai Institute of Technology, where Ning stood with a bouquet to confess to Jin. He finally expressed his feelings and offered her the passenger seat of his car. Just as she was about to accept his proposal, Lin arrived swiftly in his car and asked her for directions to the main teaching building. She showed him the way, and Lin left after thanking her. Ning asked if she could be his girlfriend, but she rudely declined, criticizing his car for not being a sports car like she wanted. In room number 1008, Wei was exhausted from writing and declared she wouldn't do it anymore. Weiren explained that her budget only allowed for a paper-based essay and asked her to wait for an errand boy who was coming. Lin knocked on the door and introduced himself as the errand boy, entering the room. Weiren asked Wei to vacate her desk and invited Lin to sit down. She then showed him the assignment that needed to be completed within 4 hours, assuring him of an extra bonus so he wouldn't worry. Lin discovered the assignment was riddled with mistakes and worried it wouldn't meet graduation standards if submitted as it was. Weiren admitted her classmate had sold it to her. Lin pointed out the flawed argument and explained that such errors would invalidate the analysis as well. Concerned, Weiren asked for a solution. Lin suggested changing the argument and using Maxwell's demon to explore the second possibility of the second law of thermodynamics. He asked if she had been paying attention. She confessed she was an underachiever and listened without fully understanding. Lin found this frustrating. Wei was shocked that despite being an errand boy, Lin had a deep understanding of thermodynamic topics as well. Weiren asked Lin to explain slowly. Lin replied that even after explaining hundreds of times, she still didn't understand. He began writing for her, and she became pleased. After 2 hours, he finished and assured her there were no issues. Ning entered angrily, prompting Weiren to ask why Ning was upset and if he had confessed to Jin. Ning criticized the essay, calling it garbage, and warned that the teacher would definitely scold them if they submitted it. Wei suggested they shouldn't trust the errand boy either. Lin suggested they go together to hand it over to the teacher. Weiren agreed, and the 4 of them went to the teacher's office. Weiren called Teacher Peng and informed him that she had completed the essay, asking him to review it. Peng replied that it was very late and questioned if she really wanted to graduate successfully. She apologized, expressing her desire to perfect it. As Peng read the essay, he asked if she had written it herself, stating that he couldn't believe she could produce such work. Ning revealed that Lin had actually written the essay. Lin thought Peng looked angry because it was wrong. Peng asked Lin in which class he was studying. Ning revealed that Lin wasn't a student at their school but an errand boy who wrote the essay for money. Peng slammed his hand on the table, and Weiren apologized to the teacher. Peng then remarked that the essay was a masterpiece and that only a few teachers could write at such a level. A female teacher asked if it was indeed a high-level essay. Peng agreed and invited her to read it herself. As she read, she commented on how impressive it was. Peng referred to Lin as a genius. Lin thanked them but mentioned that he hadn't written it seriously, so it wasn't his best effort. Ning thought Lin's lack of seriousness was pretentious. Peng handed his card to Lin, suggesting they stay in touch for future communication. Lin asked if he could leave, just as Weiren approached to ask for his contact information because she had doubts about physics. Lin left shortly after, and Ning became angry with Weiren, pointing out that even Lin, who was knowledgeable about physics, was still an errand boy. She also remarked that Lin was more handsome than Ning. Lin drove away in his car and received a call from Fuyu, who revealed problems with the machines they had already discussed depositing for. That morning, the man had disclosed issues with the Institute's international credit card, leading to his refusal of the order. It appeared someone was covertly trying to sabotage their subscription plan. Lin blamed Psyche for this and instructed Fuyu to leave, as he would handle the matter himself. He asked Fuyu to assist in developing a new system. Lin planned to confront the man responsible after finishing his current task. While at Juzhou Homes, he received an order to collect objects from the streets. Lin called the man to ask what needed to be picked up. The man said it was a bookshelf. Lin suggested hiring a large van because it was too big to carry alone. The man became angry and threatened to complain if Lin didn't come to pick it up. Lin hung up in frustration. Soon after, he found a message informing him that he had been temporarily suspended from his job. He met Sung, asking about the meeting. Sung explained they discussed a specific shipping plan and would sign the contract first, with goods delivered in a few days. After some conversation, Lin suggested they go eat something. Sung declined, saying he wanted to do something else. Lin mentioned the car keys were in the drawer and Sung could drive any of them. Sung refused and expressed interest in playing on the PS3. Lin agreed and asked if Sung wanted to drive the car and have fun with girls. Sung declined and started playing. Lin arrived at Lingyunan Tower, where he saw Heiyuan directing boys to place items as instructed. She noticed Lin had brought her good food and thanked him. He asked where Qi Xian was. She replied that Qi Xian was in the office upstairs and suggested they go meet him. Qi Xian asked if there was a task for him. Lin explained that he wanted them to disguise themselves as clients to negotiate a deal with Psyche on Lin's behalf, aiming to purchase $150 million worth of terminal chips. Heiyuan questioned why they needed to engage in deception. Lin replied that it was to feign interest in a purchase, intending to teach the company a lesson for offending him. Qi Xian expressed concern that thorough checks by others might expose Lin's plan. Lin inquired about Baba. Qi Xian asked why they should cooperate with Lin. Lin revealed that he owned 20% of Baba and would temporarily appoint them both as senior executives. They were astonished by this revelation. Lin handed over a spare key to his house, explaining that they would need a car to acquire necessary equipment for the business. When asked where his house was, Lin replied it was at Juzhou Homes, which surprised them again. Lin arrived at the commercial building and found many people gathered there for training. Fuan instructed everyone to follow her upstairs. She led them to a large room and introduced Shuang, the manager. Shuang became angry at Lin for not wearing the uniform. Lin retorted that he had come for a beauty contest, and even in uniform, Shuang couldn't match him. Duan, angered by Lin's remark, warned him to watch his words. Shuang instructed Lin to leave, and then demanded that everyone submit $500 each and reflect on their behavior for 3 hours. Only then would he lift their restrictions. They were all shocked to hear this demand. Shuang insisted they pay up or leave if they disagreed. Lin stood up to Shuang. Shuang argued they were following rules and suggested Lin didn't really want the job. Lin replied he didn't need that job, but had recorded the conversation and would upload it to the internet to expose the truth. Both Duan and Shuang were shocked by his threat. Shuang warned that he wouldn't let Lin leave until he deleted the recording. Lin replied that he had also recorded that conversation. Shuang became angry and asked Duan to call security and prevent Lin from leaving. Security quickly surrounded Lin. Just then, Yuan arrived and inquired about the situation, spotting Lin there. Shuang politely explained they were having a meeting, but Lin had secretly recorded it, so they insisted he delete the recording. Yuan instructed them to pack up and leave immediately. Duan agreed, adding that Lin was unfit to be an errand boy. Yuan then ordered both to leave, suspecting they were afraid of the recording. She instructed the guards to escort Duan and Shuang to the personnel department. As they were led away, Duan blamed everything on Shuang, much to the delight of the other errand boys. Yuan signaled Lin to meet in a separate room, asking him to spare her the trouble. Lin revealed he had restrictions, but had heard coming here would clarify things. Yan pointed out it was an easy task for her to handle, yet she hadn't resigned, questioning why Lin had come there himself. She asked if he would have fought with the guards if she hadn't come. He agreed, and asked to leave all those things behind. The scene shifted to the personnel department where Duan and Shuang looked exhausted. Yuan arrived, and Shuang asked if she had come to oversee their resignations. Yuan asked another lady if the procedure was completed. The lady replied that both of them needed to complete their work handover first. Yuan handed over her resignation letter as well, shocking them all. Shuang asked if she was leaving. Yuan confirmed and added that before resigning, she was also dismissing both of them. Then she left. It was a terrible day for Shuang and Duan. Yuan came outside to meet Lin and asked him to delete the recordings, as their superiors had promised to overlook that. Lin revealed that he hadn't recorded anything, but had fooled those two. Then he left to receive further orders. The task-giver girl came to congratulate him, and he completed the task, earning 350 million. He was told he had finished the task and was asked to start a new job. Finding the new job easy, he decided to go to Lu's restaurant to have egg fried rice. Arriving there, he met Jing. Lu asked Lin to take a seat. Lin ordered egg fried rice and asked Jing about her exam preparations, inquiring which university she wanted to enter. She replied that she aimed for Fudan University. Lin asked what she liked the most, and she said she enjoyed studying medicine. Liu suggested she attend an art school to become a star, but she declined after Lin mentioned the entertainment industry. Liu served Lin his order, mentioning that Jing always listens to him, and it was time for Jing to register for the examination. Liu hadn't attended school, so she hoped Lin would help Jing. Lin agreed, telling them to call him any time. He promised that when Jing got admitted to college, he would gift her a smartphone and a laptop. Jing declined such expensive gifts. Just then, Lin's ex-girlfriend and her friend passed by. Cece asked what Lin was doing there. Her friend asked if Cece knew him. Cece replied that they had been in a relationship before, but had broken up. She sat next to Lin, grabbed his hand, and asked if fate had brought them together again. Lin denied it. Cece admitted her mistake and asked to restart their relationship, assuring him it wasn't about his money, but because she truly loved him. Lin freed himself and asked if Cece shamelessly approached him because he was wealthy, then requested she leave him to finish his meal. Cece insisted she wasn't only concerned about his money. Lin then ordered her to clean the leftover items from another table. Cece rushed to take the cloth from Liu and volunteered to do the cleaning. The girl was surprised to see Cece performing such tasks. Lin told Cece to work there if she wanted and announced he was leaving. She insisted on accompanying him, noting she had never been in a luxury car before. Lin asked her to work and clarified he had no interest in her. Cece realized Lin had been fooling her. Lin arrived at his parking area where a man handed over his bike after repairs and modifications, that would make it faster and safer. Lin thanked him and handed over the keys to his sports car, instructing the man to take it home. Lin reached the Chaoyang group where Ji Qing was dressed beautifully. Lin complimented her outfit, and she asked if it matched his bike. She then sat behind him, and they both left, arriving at Yaluo Design Company where they were welcomed by Guan and introduced to Chu, the head of Delphil in Asia Pacific. Ji Qing apologized for making them wait and expressed pleasure in meeting Chu. Chu mentioned he hadn't expected her to be so young and attractive. He extended his hand for a handshake, but Ji Qing didn't reciprocate. Chu commented on this, but she replied they needed to discuss the financial aspects first, questioning why he was bringing up other matters. He became irritated and stated that even with Lin present, he deserved respect. Lin arrived wearing his helmet and asked Chu who he was to demand respect from him. Chu became angry, questioning how a driver dared to speak that way. Lin removed his helmet, stating he had already shown respect to Chu, warning that he would retaliate if provoked further. Guan called out Lin's name. Chu was shocked and asked if he was Lin. Chu quickly clarified that it was a misunderstanding and acknowledged Lin's relationship with Ji Qing, apologizing for any offense. Lin expressed his disinterest in having Chu present, asserting that Chu was not the equipment contractor they needed, and asked him to leave. Chu pleaded for another chance, promising to serve Lin well, but Lin appeared angered, prompting Chu to leave. Ji Qing urged Lin to forget about it and suggested they go upstairs for the meeting. Lin asked her to proceed without him, mentioning he had other matters to attend to, and left. Guan remarked to Ji Qing how fortunate she was that Lin had personally dropped her off. Lin received a call from Sung asking where he was. Lin replied that he wasn't at home. Sung suggested they have a meal together at Psych. Lin agreed, and headed to pick up Sung. Arriving at the Psych building, Lin noted its luxurious appearance. Inside, Lin saw Sung with Yan, discussing cooperation pleasantly. Yan assured Sung they would proceed as quickly as possible. Afterward, Sung noticed Lin's impressive bike. Lin asked Sung what he had discussed with Yan. Sung replied that Psych had changed their plan, stating that the second shipment of goods would now be delivered after 6 months. Lin questioned whether Sung had reached an agreement the previous day and why they had changed their minds. Sung explained that Baba Company had also become involved, causing complications due to increased competition. Lin expressed sympathy. Sung then put on his helmet and mentioned that Longshin and Psych were industry leaders, but delaying too long might allow others to take over the market. He added that he had heard Longshin seemed arrogant and might be ousted by them. They started riding, and Lin mentioned he didn't have any commitments, suggesting they go on a cruise together. Sung asked if there would be Wi-Fi available. Lin became annoyed and took him there. The scene shifted to He Yuan and Qi Xian, where a man brought GM and Liu Chu. Qi Xian greeted them, and He Yuan informed GM that Qi Xian had to fly abroad, so she asked to discuss the main points honestly. GM requested Liu Chu to disclose the details they held about the chip technology. As they settled for the meeting, Qi Xian inquired whether the 24 patented technologies Liu Chu had mentioned belonged to their company. GM confirmed this, and Qi Xian expressed his intention to ensure their chip technology was the best in the nation. Liu Chu assured him they were leading and would remain unmatched for the next 5 years. Qi Xian proposed adding a clause guaranteeing advancements in chip technology to be included in the contract, ensuring their supremacy for at least 1 year. GM questioned the necessity of such a guarantee. He Yuan supported Qi Xian, emphasizing their sincerity in the deal. Qi Xian stood up, urging He Yuan to leave immediately. GM requested them to wait, and they agreed to consider the proposal. Qi Xian expressed concern that delaying could erode trust as time passed. GM was prepared to pay 3 times the penalty if they failed to advance their products within 1 year. Qi Xian became angry, questioning if his reputation was so easily valued. GM countered with an offer of 5 times the penalty. They agreed to the deal, and Qi Xian instructed them to prepare for the contract's execution with a value of 3 billion. GM requested the documents to be printed for signing. After signing, they finalized the professional deal. Qi Xian and He Yuan then left for Lingyun Towers, where He Yuan handed over the contract file to Lin, who signed it for 3 billion with the stipulation that the other party would pay 5 times that amount if breached. Lin approved and suggested treating Qi Xian to a good meal that night, courtesy of the company. He Yuan asked what they should do next. Qi Xian received a call from the other party, informing Lin that Psych had called and requested payment for the contract. He Yuan reported that GM had called and demanded an 80 million advance payment, speaking in a rough tone. He Yuan speculated that Psych still had doubts about the project. Lin decided they should proceed with the payment. He Yuan was shocked, reminding Lin they had agreed not to engage with them. Lin explained that given Psych's size, They might struggle to fulfill the 3 billion goods order, so he would pay the advance to build trust. He added that they would seek financing for the remaining 2.5 billion goods. He Yuan reluctantly agreed, acknowledging they had no other choice but to finance. Lin instructed He Yuan to keep a close watch on the financing process, emphasizing that their bonuses would depend on it, before leaving for lunch. On his way, Lin accidentally collided with a woman on a bike, causing her to fall. She questioned his driving, but Lin defended himself, stating he had stopped at a red light and it was her responsibility. The woman became angry and demanded compensation. Lin was surprised by her request. Traffic police arrived and asked for an explanation. The elderly woman claimed Lin had hit her and requested compensation for her expenses. The traffic police were shocked to see Lin's superbike, and informed the elderly woman that Lin had evidence showing it was her fault. Despite this, she insisted that Lin had hurt her and was responsible, threatening to file a complaint against him. The traffic police reiterated that she needed to compensate Lin, noting that Lin's bike was worth over $6 million, and the repair costs were estimated at $300,000. The woman was taken aback and called her wealthy son for help. After 20 minutes, her son arrived and checked if she was all right. Upon seeing Lin, he was surprised and introduced himself as Shui, an experimenter at Longxin Institute. He apologized to Lin on behalf of his mother. His mother was also shocked upon realizing who Lin was. The police asked if they knew each other, offering to handle the matter privately or legally. Lin chose to resolve it privately and told Shui he would cover his mother's medical expenses, offering $15,000 for her checkup. After settling the matter, they parted ways. Lin reflected on Shui, noting that despite being a researcher, he owned $1 million luxury car, and his mother had attempted to extort money through false injury claims. It seemed Shui was quite ambitious and willing to take risks. Lin arrived at a restaurant for lunch and met Ying and Fuyu there. Lin asked how their work was progressing. Fuyu replied that the other party wasn't willing to cooperate with them. As they started lunch, Lin suggested they should create their own machines. They were both shocked to hear this. Lin asked them to order something as well. Ying asked if Lin was serious about planning to make machines, as it was such a big project. Lin replied that it was only a matter of time, and he would manage to make it happen. Fuyu took a sip of his drink, outlining their plan on which they would do their best. Afterward, Lin decided to allocate $150 million and asked if they knew Shui. Fuyu agreed and mentioned that Shui liked to play cards too much. Ying revealed that Shui had gone gambling and earned a lot. Lin thought of gaining more knowledge about Shui, then got up to leave. Lin arrived at Lingyun Group, where he saw He Yuan and Jiqing together. He asked the reason for that. Jiqing asked if she wasn't welcome there, and if she should take her leave. He Yuan asked if Lin was worried that Jiqing would check up on him when she arrived and teased Jiqing. Jiqing asked them to stop joking. She explained that He Yuan wanted to establish a company and had come to seek advice. Lin appreciated Jiqing and suggested they serve her dinner. Afterward, Lin sat down and asked He Yuan about the progress with the foundation. He Yuan replied that they were in the initial stages of establishment, recruiting staff, and preparing to register the investment company. Jiqing asked He Yuan not to disclose Lin's information after obtaining the license. He Yuan understood that Jiqing wanted to keep Lin's involvement private. Jiqing explained that maintaining a low profile until they were established was the best approach. Lin thought that anonymity was a good choice for him. Lin received a call from Guo, who asked him to bring a piano for her son, as Lin had played it before. Lin recognized her and asked why she was calling him. Guo explained that they had a music performance scheduled the same day, but a student fell ill, so she asked Lin to take the student's place. The scene shifted to Zhonghai School of Music, where Yik seemed worried that Jing wouldn't be able to perform. She asked what they should do. Guo reassured her not to worry, and mentioned that she had invited someone to fill that spot. Yix commented that Guo was being reckless. Guo explained that there was always someone better available. Yix asked her to bring that person to the theater as soon as possible. Xu Shuang arrived and noted that Guo had obtained her professional degree only 2 years before her. She expressed surprise that Guo would ask an amateur to fill in. Xu Shuang then showed off her husband's car and asked Guo if she wanted a ride. Suddenly, Lin arrived in his sports car and invited Guo to join him. Guo countered Xu Shuang's words and got into Lin's car, mentioning that she didn't know he had that car. Lin revealed that he had quit his delivery job. He asked if Guo's son was still practicing piano. She replied that he was focusing on both studies and music. She mentioned the performance, noting the large crowd gathered there. Lin realized that he needed to be serious for the sake of his country. As they arrived, Guo asked Lin to check for any problems and assured him he could freely inform her. He agreed. Zheng Peng asked Yix why Jing hadn't come. Yix replied that Jing was hospitalized, and Guo's acquaintance would fill in. She warned Lin that if he couldn't keep up, she would slow down and not to blame her for it. Zheng Peng was concerned, and wondered if Guo understood how important this was. Then Zheng Peng told Lin to leave, not mincing words, saying Lin could ruin their entire performance. Lin asked why. Zheng Peng explained that he didn't know Yix's abilities but would follow her lead, so Zheng Peng had to keep an eye on her. Yix became angry and defended herself, mentioning it wasn't about showing off, but about casting a shadow over her music career. Then she asked to begin. Zheng Peng mentioned Yix had been playing piano since age 5, which Lin hadn't known when he was that age. Yix asked everyone to get ready as the competition was about to start. As they both started playing the piano, everyone was shocked by their performance. Someone called Lin, but he continued playing with one hand while talking. This amazed everyone, including Yix. Finally, Lin finished his performance. Yix asked if he was really an amateur. Zheng Peng came to apologize to Lin. Guo arrived and mentioned that the performance was about to begin. Yix remarked that Lin was so incredible that she couldn't match him. Guo asked what had suddenly changed her attitude. Yix felt guilty and accepted her defeat. Xu Shuang had been listening in secret and decided to make a backup plan. She came outside and introduced herself to Lin. She explained that a cellist in the orchestra had cancelled, so she asked Lin to fill that spot. Lin asked about playing the piano. Xu Shuang said Yux would play the piano alone, but the orchestra would suffer because of it. She thought Lin might be good at playing the piano, but not adept at the cello, and she wanted to embarrass Guo in front of the school leaders. As they got ready to perform, Guo was shocked to see only Yix playing the piano. She was further surprised to find Lin sitting with the cellists. A man asked why Lin was there. Lin explained that Xu Shuang had asked him to fill in for a cellist who didn't show up. The man informed Lin that all the cellists were present, and adding another would disrupt the performance. Lin realized that Xu Shuang had deceived him. Guo quickly considered how to rearrange Lin. Just then, the host announced to the audience to enjoy the performance. Guo was shocked and wondered what to do next. Lin started playing the piano alongside Yix and matched her skill. Together, they performed exceptionally well. Wenyi commented on Lin's talent, noting how impressive he seemed. Pan wondered why Lin seemed so familiar. Xu Shuang was angry that the performance hadn't been ruined. Finally, they finished the performance. Zheng Peng praised Lin, acknowledging him as not only a good pianist, but also a great cellist. He emphasized that the performance wouldn't have been as successful without Lin's contribution at the beginning. Lin informed Guo that Xu Shuang was behind the confusion. Guo promised to handle the matter seriously. As Lin was leaving, Wenyi offered him $30,000 a month to join her company. Lin jokingly asked if she wanted him to be a sugar baby. She agreed, mentioning her close relationships with all the trainees in her company. Lin countered that $30,000 wasn't enough to maintain his car, asking her not to deceive him. Wenyi was shocked and asked how he dared to speak to her like that. Pan became afraid of Lin. Lin told them to forget it, warning them not to mess with him. Wenyi pointed out that Lin was just an ordinary student, questioning why they couldn't afford to mess with him. Pan mentioned that he had once seen Lin's account with $1.5 billion, which dwarfed Boiwan Media. Wenyi was shocked and apologized to Lin for her earlier rudeness. Lin warned her not to harass good-looking men before leaving to meet He Yuan and Qi Xian at a restaurant. He Yuan mentioned that they had already started raising money, and progress was smooth due to the chip boom. Qi Xian added that Psych was actively approaching research institutes and planning to outsource its chip production. Lin suggested they follow suit. Lin video called Ji Qing and explained he had a lucrative business opportunity, and asked if she was interested in joining. She inquired about the details. Lin then asked how much working capital Chaoyang Group had. Jihin replied they had $800 million. Lin offered her $15 million to invest in Psych. She was surprised by the proposal. He tells her to wait at home for the money. She agrees with that. Hu Yuan asks why Lin didn't raise the ante if he suspected a short sell. Lin replies that he planned to make Psych believe other industries were also interested in their products. Qi Xian asks if Lin intended to use that investment to show Psych that their products were popular in other industries. Hu Yuan mentions that Lin seems very smart. Lin receives a call from Ying, who is crying, and asks him to come because her parents are in trouble. Lin gets worried and tells her to wait. He'll be there shortly. When he arrives, he sees Ying crying. He asks her to stop crying and where Liu and the others are. She tells him they've been taken to the hospital, and she's waiting to give a statement to the police. Lin asks what happened. She reveals that a nearby club owner sent a gang to destroy their food stall because he felt his business was affected by it. They also beat her parents. Lin seems very angry, questioning how they dare to do such a thing. He asks if the club across the street was the one involved. Discovering it's the Hurricane Club, he calls Chin and requests help to investigate the Hurricane Club. Chin agrees and asks Lin to wait for his call. The police ask them to wait. Lin tells Ying to go to the hospital to watch over her family and to call him if she needs anything. He decides to take care of the club himself. She hesitates, but Lin reassures her that the club has other issues to deal with and she shouldn't worry. He'll just take a look. Arriving at the club, a man recognizes Lin as Yingxi and informs Chin. The club is well connected and Chin is concerned for Lin's safety. Lin insists he'll be fine and proceeds inside. Yingxi follows him. Inside, Sung is with two girls and mentions the daughter of the fried rice stall, suggesting they take her secretly and have fun with her. A man agrees to take care of it, but Lin kicks the door open. Sung demands to know who Lin is. Lin warns Sung that if he harms anyone from that fried rice stall, he'll put Sung out of business. Sung asks if Lin is Jing's boyfriend, noting she looks innocent. Lin grabs a wine bottle and hits Sung on the head. Another man gets angry at Lin, but Yingxi warns him not to dare, as Lin is Chin's friend. Messing with Lin would upset Chin. Despite this, the man still tries to attack Lin. Lin grabs his hand, twists, and kicks him down. Security arrives, and Sung orders them to knock Lin down no matter what. Chin arrives with more men, demanding to see who dared to touch his friend. Sung is shocked to see Lin there. Chin warns Sung to be careful about what he's doing and to keep his hands to himself. Scared, Sung apologizes and promises not to do it again. Lin warns him to remember that. He then asks Chin to leave. Chin agrees, saying it would be too easy for those losers if he let them off like that. Lin suggests calming down and having a drink. Chin says Lin doesn't have to do that. They both leave and part ways for their respective work. Lin receives a message from Jiqing saying she's hungry and asks him to come discuss something. He arrives at her office, and she notes it's exactly 12 o'clock. Lin replies he was worried she might starve in the office, so he came early. She reassures him she's not that careless, and then asks him to go to the kitchen. After 20 minutes, he finally prepares something to eat. She comments that it looks good, but confesses feeling guilty about possibly gaining 5 pounds. Lin suggests a solution. She can stay slim while eating anything. Delighted, she asks how. He replies, eat after exercising. As they were being intimate, He-Yuan suddenly arrived and caught them in an awkward position. Embarrassed, she apologizes and says she'll come back later. Jiqing assures her not to misunderstand. He-Yuan insists she just wanted to know what they were doing. Lin, annoyed, asks her if she didn't understand what was happening. He instructs her to return in 2 hours, to which she remarks it would be a good time for them. Jiqing pushes Lin away and gets ready, asking He-Yuan to wait. Lin wonders if that was appropriate. He-Yuan explains that since Jiqing told her not to leave, she'll watch them for 2 hours. Jiqing interrupts, urging them to stop and reminding He-Yuan they were supposed to discuss financing. They move downstairs, where He-Yuan mentions she has prepared the paperwork for Lingyun Capital. They will officially start operations in a few days, with interviews scheduled for the next day. She asks if Lin will oversee things behind the scenes. Lin replies that he's leaving that to He-Yuan and Qi Xian. He confirms the transfer of $156 million to her and mentions the support plan, focusing initially on orphanages and later expanding to impoverished areas nationwide. Jiqing suggests prioritizing the business over the Ye Foundation and doing only what they can handle. Lin replies that he knows what he's doing. He-Yuan shares her idea of using the foundation to promote their company, which would help improve corporate culture. Jiqing agrees it's a good idea, but points out that Lingyun Group isn't currently strong enough and they shouldn't attract too much attention. He-Yuan asks for Lin's opinion on that. He replies that he won't deny Jiqing and just hugs her. He-Yuan remarks she didn't think Lin was the henpecked husband. Then she mentions that the financing for He-Yuan was going smoothly and they weren't suspicious about the $15 billion Qingyan gave them. Lin asks if Psych is doing anything else. He-Yuan replies that they've also expanded their factory and acquired 5 new sets of equipment, which means their productivity will increase by at least 30%, and they'll complete the order in 4 to 5 months. Lin says it's too long and he won't wait, so he asks who's in charge of that. She shows him a photo of the person in charge, Xiang Yu, the son of Jihad. Xiang Yu just returned from Britain, and his younger sister is still studying there. Lin remarks that He-Yuan is wasted as a CFO and should be a detective. She says they always need to know about their enemies. She mentions that experts believe Psych's chip technology is top-notch in the country, so compensation might not be realized. Jiqing suggested not dealing with Psych because they were in the technology field, and Lin had nothing to do with that. Lin asked her to wait on that. Yuan asked in which field Lin was willing to invest. He suggested focusing on technology and trying angel investment, assuring her there was no need to fear losing money. She agreed and began preparing everything. Ji King then asked Lin to come see her new dress. He agreed and asked if she had an event to attend. She mentioned a charity dinner the next day with many influential people attending, inviting him to join. They arrived at Miss Exclusive where she tried on the dress. A lady told Ji Qing they would tailor it as requested. She asked Lin to wait and mentioned buying him a suit later, which he agreed to. She showed him the dress and asked how it looked. He complimented her, saying she looked very pretty. Another lady offered 20% extra of the exact price, but Lin looked sternly at her and told her not to consider it. He asked the store lady to pack the dress. The lady emerged from the car with a grim expression. Fang asked why she looked upset. She explained that someone else was wearing the dress she thought would be perfect for Feng, and despite offering more money, the person was rude. Fang advised her not to get angry, reassuring her that even without that dress, Feng would still attract attention. Ji Qing finished dressing up and asked which earring would complement her outfit. Lin hugged her and assured her that she looked best in the dress. He touched her gently and told her she looked beautiful. They had a great time that evening. The next day at Yunlan Grand Hotel, Fang arrived and people there commented on how much prettier she looked in person than on TV. Many cameramen took her pictures. Her assistant informed her that Qin was already there, so they needed to hurry. Fang resolved to impress Qin without making any mistakes. Lin arrived in his supercar and wondered where the red carpet entrance was, thinking it wasn't a fashion show. Ji Qing explained that these days, formality was more important than substance, and she asked if they could walk the red carpet together. He declined, suggesting she go alone while he parked the car and met her in the hall. She agreed, stepped out of the car, and surprised all the cameramen, who started taking her pictures. Fang became jealous and asked who Ji Qing was. Her assistant revealed that the dress Ji Qing wore was the one she had wanted to buy for Fang. Fang mistakenly believed Ji Qing hadn't been invited. The cameramen continued taking pictures as Ji Qing walked quickly into the venue. Fang's assistant remarked that Ji Qing had the aura of a star. Fang became angry, stating that if she had that dress, she would garner more attention. The assistant went to intercept Ji Qing, but Fang stopped Ji Qing herself and criticized the guards for allowing an uninvited person to enter. The guard informed Fang that Ji Qing was indeed invited. Fang declared that if Ji Qing remained, she would leave instead. The guards then escorted Fang outside. Shocked, Fang demanded clarification. A guard explained that Fang had insisted she wouldn't share the same hall as Ji Qing, leading to her removal. Fang was stunned to hear this. Fang was shocked and demanded to know how they dared to ask a superstar like her to leave. The guard revealed that Ji Qing was the CEO of Chaoyang Group and the honored guest that day, implying it was Fang who should leave. Fang was stunned to hear this. The assistant apologized to Ji Qing on Fang's behalf. Fang thought having Qin there was a good opportunity for her and admitted it was her mistake to let the situation escalate. Inside the hotel, Lin greeted Qin, who complimented Lin on how handsome he looked in his suit. Qin mentioned recruiting a talented young woman and offered Lin a VIP membership at his club. Lin declined politely, explaining he wasn't interested at the moment, but would consider applying later to return the favor to Qin. Qin mentioned that Chen was also present, and suggested Lin meet him too. Suddenly, Guo called Lin to inform him she and her husband had also been invited. As she left, Qin commented to Lin that he didn't seem interested in Guo, but Lin asked him to stop talking nonsense. Ji Qing texted that she was on the first floor with friends. Lin started eating alone. Zi Hao, the general manager, complimented Fang, saying she was talented in acting and predicted she would dominate the domestic film industry in the next few years. Fang replied modestly, stating she was just an engineer. Meanwhile, the assistant spotted Lin and wondered why he was there, recalling he had yelled at her the previous day. Fang decided to avoid him. While walking with a drink, she accidentally twisted her leg and stumbled toward Lin. However, Lin quickly stepped aside, allowing her to fall without incident. Zihao checked if Fang was okay, and became angry with Lin for not helping her when she stumbled. Lin replied that it wasn't his responsibility. Fang criticized Lin, accusing him of tripping her but not admitting it. Lin retorted that if her legs were weak, she should find someone who slept with her the previous night and not blame him. Fang was enraged to hear this. Zihao demanded that Lin apologize to Fang, threatening to have him kicked out and mentioning his father's connections in Zhonghai, which could make trouble for Lin. Qin entered and asked what had happened. Fang introduced herself to Qin, and Zihao explained that Lin had tripped Fang and insulted her. Fang clarified that despite the stumble, she wasn't injured. Qin grew furious and declared that Fang didn't need Lin's attention. He asserted that Lin was his friend and warned anyone against messing with him, insisting they leave. Zihao and Fang were shocked, and they both apologized to Lin for their mistake before leaving him alone. Qin asked Lin to join him upstairs before dinner, and Lin agreed. Jiqing was also present with some friends. Qin and Lin split up to enjoy themselves. Zhao passed by Lin and asked a person if the gift was ready. The person showed him the ring and flower bouquet. Zhao instructed him to distribute some money to others to ensure Jiqing didn't think poorly of him. The person agreed and went to deliver the message. Afterwards, Zhao asked Lin to leave the area temporarily as their boss was going to confess his love. He offered Lin a reward. Lin inquired about the amount, and the person showed him several bills. Lin asked for $15,000 without negotiation. Zhao commented that Lin was pushing it, but he understood his position. Lin replied it was fair, questioning how Zhao could pursue his girl if he couldn't afford it. Jay remarked that Lin seemed to have a natural talent for business, and then produced the money to give to Lin. Lin accepted the money from Zhao and told him to proceed. He approached Jiqing and hugged her, explaining that he hadn't seen her in the hall, so he came looking for her. Jiqing mentioned she hadn't seen her friends in a long time, so they were catching up. A woman complimented Lin on his looks and suggested they discuss business later, as the banquet was about to start. Jiqing informed her friends that she was leaving now, so Lin escorted her out. Meanwhile, Zhao and his assistant were shocked and wondered why Lin had taken Jiqing with him. Zhao realized Lin had outsmarted them. His assistant asked what their next move should be. Jay replied that he would seek revenge when the opportunity arose. As everyone gathered in the hall, the host welcomed them and announced the official start of the charity dinner. As the designated couple, people began dancing. Lin wondered why there was dancing at a charity dinner. Jiqing explained that besides the dinner, there would be a performance following the opening dance, as per the procedure, and the auction proceeds would be donated to the Hope Projects. As they danced, Jiqing asked Lin how he could waltz so well. Meanwhile, Zhao grew increasingly angry watching Lin. Just then, Lin received a call from Jingbang Institute, informing him that Jingbang was in the hospital and needed Lin to substitute his class the next day to avoid a salary deduction from the dean. Lin asked if Jingbang was okay and agreed to take the class, requesting details on the time, place, and assignments. The scene shifted to the school natatorium the following day, where the girls welcomed Lin with excitement. Lin asked why they were so excited for a regular class. Inside the swimming pool, many students were having fun. One boy named George asked why Lin wasn't teaching the Chinese language class. George explained he was waiting for his dream girl to appear there. The boy asked if George had changed his mind again. Lin arrived with some students and noticed the boys in the pool. He wondered what was going on and reminded them that according to school regulations, they should be wearing uniform swimsuits. Lin asked why they were there. The girl with Lin explained that international students could come and go at any time. George greeted Lin and then introduced himself to the girl, asking to be friends. However, the girl got scared and hid behind Lin. Lin told George that according to the rules, students weren't allowed there without permission. George asked him not to be so serious, mentioning that people from Tali couldn't live without swimming. He told the girl that she wouldn't find him so repulsive once she got to know him. She asked him to stay away, as she didn't like foreigners. George remarked that Tali was a romantic country, and that people in his country were not as boring as them. Other students with Lin told George to stop bragging. George teased them, inviting them to hit him and warned that the school would kick them out. George's friend asked if they were cowards, boasting about the powerful kung fu of China. As they laughed, Lin kicked George, calling him arrogant. George fell into the swimming pool while the students cheered for Lin. Enraged, George emerged and decided to disrupt the swimming class by urinating in the pool, challenging them to see how they would start the class now. His friends joined in, further aggravating Lin's classmates. George then urged his friends to leave without causing more disturbance. Lin suggested they could leave, but only after drinking the pool water. This angered George, reminding them that Lin had already kicked him. Lin swiftly punched George, causing him to fall, but George insisted it wasn't enough and demanded more. A boy attempted to attack Lin, but Lin countered and sent the student crashing to the floor. The girls were delighted to see Lin's moves. Lin then caused all the international boys to fall down. The international girls, frightened, ran out seeking help as Lin appeared to overpower the boys. George warned Lin not to dare hit him again, or he would report him. Ignoring George's warning, Lin grabbed his hair and dragged him towards the swimming pool. George demanded to know what Lin was doing. Lin dunked George's head into the pool, making him drink the water. When Lin finally let go, George apologized. Lin then challenged the other boys from the group of 10 to come forward if they needed his help. Scared, they obediently drank the pool water. Just then, Jihad arrived and demanded to know what was going on. George told Jihad that it was fortunate he arrived, accusing Lin of forcing them to drink pool water and threatening to sue him. Jihad was shocked and asked Lin if he wanted to be involved in an international dispute. Lin retorted that those who behaved arrogantly deserved such treatment, questioning why Jihad gave them special privileges. Jihad insisted that they must treat international players with humanity, emphasizing it wasn't about privilege. He vowed to handle the matter and take legal action against Lin. Lin remarked that it seemed Jihad didn't understand the situation. Infuriated, Jihad rebuked Lin for speaking so boldly as a substitute teacher, demanding they go to the headmaster's office to settle the matter. Lin agreed, stating he also wanted to speak with the headmaster. Upon reaching the office, Jihad accused Lin of bad behavior towards the international students and urged legal action. Lin questioned why Jihad hadn't mentioned George's harassment of their university students or his actions in the natatorium. Jihad dismissed Lin's interruption. The headmaster revealed that Lin was the vice principal of the university, giving him the authority to intervene. Jihad was shocked by this revelation. The headmaster temporarily suspended Jihad for his behavior and promised to report the incident to the Education Bureau. Jihad left the office in disbelief. A student of Lin's asked if he was all right. Lin assured them he was fine and explained that Jihad had been temporarily fired, and the school would also discipline the international students. The student then handed him a first aid box. The girl noticed that Lin seemed a bit hurt. He reassured her that it was just a minor cut. Gratefully, she applied the bandage for him, and he remarked that it was no big deal. She asked if it still hurt. Lin simply smiled. Just then, Lin received a call from Chin, asking where he was and why he hadn't answered earlier. Chin invited him for drinks that night. Lin left the school, informing Chin that he had finished his work and asked where they would meet. Chin suggested the Joy Clubhouse on Ijeon Avenue and instructed Lin to call him upon arrival. As Lin walked, he passed by the Huaking Hot Spring and wondered if Chin was the owner. Lin remembered he had promised to apply for membership there before. A lady approached him and asked if he was alone. Lin confirmed and mentioned his intention to sign up for membership. The lady inquired which type of membership card he was interested in, explaining an option that offered an additional $15 for every $150 deposited. Lin asked for the best membership card available. The lady informed him that the top-tier membership card cost $28,200. Lin surprised them all by purchasing 2 cards. The girl thought Lin must be a close friend of Chin's to be so generous. Lin arrived at the Joy Clubhouse, where a man escorted him inside. Upon entering a room filled with music, a girl in a bunny dress spotted him and joyfully exclaimed that they had been waiting for him. Chin introduced Lin to his 2 friends, Jin and Gao. Lin shook hands with them and agreed to join them for drinks later. Sitting down with Chin, Lin showed him the best membership cards for the Huaking Hot Spring, including one for Chin. Just then, the girl who had applied the bandage to Lin arrived with their wines and was surprised to see him there. Chin asked Lin if she was his student. Lin explained that she was a student he had met at Zhonghai Normal University. The girl felt a bit out of place in her bunny dress at such a venue. Chin invited the girl to join them and assured her not to worry, offering her $1,500 per glass of wine she drank. She refused. Lin became angry, questioning why she had come if she wasn't going to drink, and suggested she shouldn't work there if she refused to drink. The girl asked them not to complain about her, and inquired if they truly paid $1,500 per glass. Chin placed money on the table, insisting he wouldn't back down, and urged her to drink. Reluctantly, she drank 2 glasses but ended up vomiting. Chin gave her $3,000 for the 2 glasses and asked her to leave, upset that she had vomited. She left emotionally. Lin asked Chin to have someone follow the girl. Chin assigned Yingxi to the task, and Yingxi agreed before leaving to follow her. Chin then asked about Lin's relationship with the girl, noticing Lin's anger. The girl in bunny ears explained that the waitress was a student, and suggested the club might not be a suitable place for her, which could be why Lin was upset. Chin pointed out that the girl was an adult and could make her own choices. He encouraged Lin not to be upset and to have a drink. Just then, Yingxi called Chin, reporting that some people were causing trouble outside. Chin was shocked and suggested they go out to investigate. Lin asked Chin to wait, saying he would go check and suggesting Chin continue drinking there. Chin agreed. Outside, a crowd had gathered, and Yingxi was holding on to the girl. Lin arrived and asked what had happened. Yingxi explained that he had seen people attempting to take her away when he exited the room. Lin asked if they were trying to harm her. A man confronted Lin, asking if he was defending the girl. Lin questioned whether they intended to take her. The man explained that the girl was a star at the clubhouse and always drank with them, questioning Lin's interference. He boasted that the owner of the Hurricane Club, Wen, was in his car nearby. Lin proposed that they bring Wen into the discussion. If Wen agreed, Lin would allow them to take the girl. The man challenged Lin's authority, asking why he should listen to him, and demanded that Lin hand over the girl. Yingxi, angered, swiftly moved to slash at the man's leg. Lin noted Yingxi's strength, which incited the other men to attack. Yingxi warned that he would kill anyone who approached. Fearing further escalation, the man suggested they call Wen outside to resolve the matter and teach them a lesson. Wen hurried out and apologized to Lin, asking how he could resolve the situation. Lin instructed Wen to control his subordinates and declared that he never wanted to see them again. The man agreed. Lin then took the girl and instructed Yingxi to inform Qin that he was leaving. The girl apologized to Lin as he helped her into his car. She covered her mouth, explaining she felt like vomiting. Lin drove her to the Peninsula Grand Hotel. Confused, the girl wondered why he was taking her there and if he intended to harm her. Lin escorted her to a room, where she expressed her desire to go home. Lin asked how she planned to get there and what her parents would think if they saw her in that state. She revealed that her mother had suffered a heart attack and needed surgery. Her father was absent, and if she didn't work, there would be financial problems for her mother. Lin understood why she worked at the Joy Clubhouse. She explained that the manager had told her she was pretty and assured her that drinking wine wouldn't be dangerous, which led her to take the job. Lin asked about the cost of the surgery. She replied that it was expensive and mentioned plans with her grandmother to sell their house and borrow money to afford her mother's medical bills. Lin inquired about how much they expected to get from selling the house. She said she was willing to take on any job to earn money, focusing solely on the financial aspect. Lin instructed a man to inform the manager to deliver $75,000 in cash to room number 2618. The man agreed, and shortly afterward, he brought the money to Lin. Lin placed the money in front of Fan, urging her to take it for her mother's health. Gratefully, she thanked him and became emotional, expressing that she had nothing else to offer him except her body. Lin sternly told her not to say such things and insisted she go to the hospital to care for her mother. Fan, feeling close to him, asked if he was reluctant to be with her, revealing that he was her first experience with a man. Lin gently pushed her away and encouraged her to leave. However, she held onto his leg, pleading with him. After some time, Lin asked her to answer her ringing phone. She picked up and heard her grandmother urgently asking her to come home because her uncle and aunt had arrived. Fan was shocked and wondered why they had come, reassuring her grandmother that she would be there soon. Lin offered to drive her home, and she gratefully accepted. Lin drove to Bright Community and asked Ran to go upstairs, assuring her not to worry about her mother because he had arranged for the hospital to take care of her. Gratefully, she thanked him and promised to repay him after sorting out her family affairs. They entered her apartment together. Inside, a woman asked if Lin was Ran's boyfriend and complimented him. Ran clarified that Lin was her teacher, dispelling any misunderstanding. A man then demanded $750 from Ran, while another uncle insisted on repayment of $600. Ran was shocked, explaining she had borrowed $450 and questioning why the amount had increased. They angrily insisted she pay interest. Lin intervened, stating they were being unfair. He reminded them that Ran's father had provided them with a lot of money when he was alive, questioning their treatment of Ran and her mother.